or 25 different bosses and put them on a bingo card that then the racers will be going off of and basically trying to make a single line bingo today. Um, so no need for blackout or anything like that. Just either diagonal, up, down, left, right, however you can. And once you've got that, you can then go on to face Kefka, the final Kefka fight, and done your time.
So,
So
will I be contractually obligated to yell out bingo when one of our racers get it?
you can, or anybody else can. If I might be able to catch it, but it is it's required. It's bingo, of
Of
course.
course. That's like the biggest thing about bingo is getting through to do that. And, you know, there was a
Exactly.
little bit of a conversation about a 3-character starter knot, and their first check for at least 2 of our races to get Sabin. I think we're going to be alright.
Yeah, exactly. This is a great start. Seven has a lot of actual boss checks, which is actually what you want. So this race is going to be a little bit different for a lot of the runners because a lot of times what you want to do is actually try to get those early, easy, no boss checks done first because it's a lot of gear, stuff like that, or character esper, anything like that. But in this kind of race, you actually want to kind of think the other. You still want to get those free checks just because there is all that stuff I just mentioned. But at the same time, you really need to do those boss checks so you can possibly get your bingo as fast as possible. So somebody like Saban here is perfect. He has a lot of boss check encounters, where somebody who like Celeste or Terra, or Celeste is actually really good here too, but Terra might not be as much because she has not as many boss encounter ones. So it'll be interesting to see kind of how each runner kind of approaches this a little bit differently this time around.
That's true. That actually changes quite a few of our checks, because normally you'd look at something like Magitech Factory. The last thing you have to do is do, say, the rail cart that has 2 different bosses in it, and that's usually a really bad thing, so people would reset out of it, not even do the end of the Magitech Factory, because it's 1 check after 2 bosses and multiple forced encounters. Now, that's 2 boss checks that you could knock off the bingo card, theoretically.
Exactly. Any check that you run into multiple bosses actually becomes very plausible in this. I mean, that's stuff like Magitech Factory, Floating Continent. Now that everybody pretty much should be having 3 characters, I'm not sure if everybody has grabbed their third, but we
Everyone's
have it.
grabbed the third. Did you just see the Doomgaze Shardanook that Jackamus reset out of, though?
I did not. Is he one of the bingo? Because we do have our bingo card up too, so everybody can see. And each player or each runner does have their own specific color as well. So I'm going to go over there just real quick. So Jackmus is going to be on the brown color on the card. Solaris is going to be blue, and Vampstar is going to be red. So you can track actually, and you'll see real time as they kill the boss that's on the bingo card where they are going with that.
For sure. I just found it very entertaining as we're talking about how it's working, that to see... I was very confused first because I saw Jackamus resetting out, and I'm like, but that was Shardanook. That should be two... Nope, that's Shardanook at Doomgaze. That was not an expected fight for him.
Yeah, that's definitely there. When I was doing the same run too, as when I was doing a test run of this, was just flying through the air, and I ran into an octopus, and he actually was one of the bosses that was on the bingo. So it's like, oh, this actually works out really well. But yeah, you'll see a lot of this. Where I think a lot of runners are probably going to kind of check some of the early ones and go, okay, this isn't a boss I need, so they're gonna probably quit out and then check the other ones until they realize, okay, well, none of the bosses here are what I need, and then probably do one of them to gain some experience, possibly find a progression item, things like that.
That's true, especially since for this week we do not have Shardanook as a needed fight. Probably reset out though, honestly, because that would have been a lot of really good early experience. Probably reset out because Shardanook at level 5 without a fire spell is
Right.
not the nicest painting in the world.
Exactly. And just taking a look at our bingo card today, so we do have a fairly good mix of some of the easier bosses as well as some of the harder ones. I mean, we have the goddess statue is on there, Atma weapon is on there, um, Doom is on there. So we got 2 out of the 3 statues. But both Atma and Atma weapon is on here. So it'll be interesting to see what anyone wants to try with those. But we do have some of the easier ones. So we have a Phantom Train that's on there. The Kefka Narsh version is on there. Rhizopass is on there. So there's a good mix on this card of easy and hard bosses too.
Now, I will be honest that I have actually heard the meme of suplexing the train many times and have never actually seen it. So I'm really excited with all of our racers having Sabin that somebody better suplex that train for me.
Please, no one's going to suplex the train. We're all just going to Phoenix down the train because it's the fastest way possible to kill him. I do that all the time.
I trust in Jackamus's belief in the memes.
Yep, Jackamus probably will. He normally does play to the crowd and probably will do it. So just kind of going over runners time, we do have Jackamus, kind of one of our top runners on here. We do have Vamp, who's another very long standing community member, and race is a fairly good racer. And then we actually have a pretty newcomer, Solaris Drix, to our stream as well. So it's always glad to see new people coming in and joining us too.
Absolutely. I know with the Discord we have almost many people jumping in line to try and be the person to help out when there's a newer player. I've noticed that there's always multiple people that are glad to help any newcomers and people who are not so familiar but want to learn the race.
Oh, for sure. Our the beginner room that we have, our beginner's house, is probably the most active of the sub channels inside of the Discord. There's always people talking in there, probably more than any of the other ones. So um, there very rarely is a time where you probably go in there with a question and that someone doesn't answer it right away for you.
Absolutely. So it looks like everyone is still going for chests, which does have the benefit of, I will say, for commentating, that I did not know where a couple of these chests were.
Yeah, thankfully, this kind of boss bingo makes it a little bit easier on the trackers and the commentators to kind of follow things, especially because each of the runners is also tracking themselves effectively through the bingo card. So it's pretty hard for us to miss anything. We just might not talk about it because we didn't see it. But yes, you do get to learn a lot of those tricky locations that you would never think about in just your normal run through.
So
But let's see.
I'm trying to figure out what strategies we've got going on here. Slots is an interesting mechanic for sure. Go-Go kind of lets you work with that also.
Yeah, Go-Go more and more I've been talking to people is becoming more and more a very good filler person just because you can fit in a lot of things. I mean, being able to picking up a Celis and getting Runic on him and all this. So I think more and more people are starting to say he's not obviously one of your top 3 picks to be your carry on your team,
Right.
but he is like, hey, I need a 4th, and I could really use someone who could be both a white mage and a physical attacker at the
Right.
same time.
I've definitely had a seed that was Mog Go-Go, and having 2 dancers was absolutely a godsend there.
Oh yeah, especially with some of the dances that are really powerful. I mean, you can have one of them doing like the plains dance, I think, that has the really strong sun heal off of it and things like that.
Yeah,
So
it's a sun heal and I believe a wind
cutter?
AoE. Yeah, wind cutter.
Yeah. So it looks like everybody's checking different spots now. I don't think anything came out of the Imperial camp. It does look like Jack is going to the Phantom Train to see who's waiting for him there. And it looks like Vamp is also going to Imperial camp right now.
And that is a good point, Ben Show. That is the probably worst part about any non-Umaru Berserk in this game, is that if you pick the wrong dancer Berserk and you're sending out the elemental that they absorb, you're not in for a good time.
Those are the rough moments. But yeah, it doesn't look like, because we do have some runners off stream as well who are on the exact same bingo card as well, and it doesn't look like any of them have found anything. So it looks like none of the initial boss checks that you have available are one of the ones which is on the card, which is surprising actually.
No, but Ryan just told us that we missed Marvel Shoes at the camp and offering at the train. I think we're going to be seeing some boss fights here soon.
Oh yeah, those 2 items alone will definitely be able to carry you pretty quickly through it.
Now, we've got Solaris fighting, I think, multiple fights? Is that just lots of Mugus that I'm seeing?
I think that might be the Imperial camp. I mean, it is the Imperial camp. I'm not sure what fight he's at exactly.
Right, I'm not sure.
I don't know if this is the multiple
Oh,
series
no,
fights.
he's doing the chest. Okay.
Oh, okay.
I had completely
Metal Knuckle in there.
forgotten about that chest, to be honest. Speaking of chests that I didn't really know about.
Yeah, it's one of those normally because you have the interaction where you have to like Ben says, the chest wolf, where it's like, okay, if you guess it right, it just opens up really quickly, but it still eats up a second or 2 waiting for that animation to go through.
Is that a complete guess? I had never figured that out.
I've not figured out either.
Okay, I'm glad that
is-
we're agreeing that is a random guess then.
Yeah, I've done it both times and gotten it wrong a lot of the time, so I end up normally fighting that. So
And
it looks like
speaking of
Jack was
chests,
taking on Siegfried.
Yeah, speaking of chest friends, Siegfried here is gonna eat up a lot of time talking.
Exactly. That's why I think a lot of the times you don't tend to fight him, just because he does eat so much time talking.
If you can
But
kill
I
him
think-
quickly, still good.
Yeah. And it looks like Jackamus was able to do just that, drop him pretty quickly. But it looks like everybody is on the pretty heavy chest hunt right now.
Yeah. I mean, the only thing that we've seen so far was the offering. I don't think anyone has an Esper with any good spells. Um, so really, I think we're even looking for. There wasn't even a chest there, Jack. There's just a little magicite sitting in the corner, apparently. All right.
Yeah, there's a lot of that stuff you completely forget about. Like the Phantom Train, especially. You just normally just run as fast as you can to the front of the show, or to the front of the train. Finds a stunner. That's pretty good, especially with an offering.
Right, and yeah, I think that's the first major. Oh no, never mind. There's a Ragnarok. I was gonna say that was the first weapon we had found. That's stabbing with the Ragnarok and an offering. I don't think we'll be seeing too many suplexes with that one.
Nope, you're probably just gonna smash face with that and make it a pretty easy walk.
Now, there are different weapons that are very powerful. What do you usually look for when you're going in a run?
So if I'm gonna be, it depends. If I find an offering, there is kind of a couple different ones. I normally like fixed dice just because it does not get diminished by the offering's effect of getting 4 attacks. And there's Hedonite at the end of the train, or Hedon at the end of the train. Not who you kind of want to see either, but thankfully,
I mean,
for an easy, quick boss to
it's
kill.
Hydon, Bidon.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, things like Ragnarok are always good to find. I know a lot of people, I think Jack must have said multiple times he likes the sniper.
Right, because I think the sniper has, what, 150% crit damage on flying units, which is most of the Kefka's Tower.
Yep, and I believe it also has the throw ability, like Shadow's throw, if I remember correctly. So he likes to use that. Of course, like if you can get a Valiant Knife with an offering, since it ignores defense, always a good one to find. But you're just really looking for the big pieces. You're looking for your Illuminas, you're looking for your Ragnaroks, things like that.
I know
Fixed
that I'm
dice.
one of the few that still seem to really love fixed dice in almost every situation, especially with an offering when you can roll 4 times at once. But even by itself, if you don't have Ultima, if you don't have Fire 3, it can still do quite a lot of damage.
Oh, I completely agree. I will still take a fixed dice most of the time. If I see one in a shop that I randomly just checked, I will pick it up as well. I'm not going to say no to a fixed dice.
Looks like we've got 2 people jumping off the waterfall here. We'll see what we find there.
Yep, let's see if this is going to be our first bingo spot.
And Ultros.
But that is Ultros 1. And I think we only have Ultros 3 and 4. Now, it can be sometimes hard to tell which Ultros is which. Kind of the things we've learned is like the Ultros 1 is the one that's submerged. Ultros 2 is above ground, but he'll cast certain spells, which is like Muddle 3. Ultros 3 is the one that gets killed by Realm Easy, but slowly moves forwards or backwards as well. And then Ultros 4 has Chupon. So kind of some ways that you can tell, but can be a bit tricky.
Which one has
Yep,
the
like
different
Vince.
battle music? I remember one
I'm
of them
trying
has
to remember.
that.
'Cause
I think that was 4?
3 has.
Or was it
Yeah, I always
3?
forget. They are tricky to tell.
There's
One of
a
the
lot
few
of
times where I
Ultroses.
wish. Yeah, one of the few times I wish Six took an example of what Final Fantasy V did and named it like Ultros 1, Ultros 2, Ultros 3, 4, right on the actual thing, the same like what they did for Gilgamesh, but
Yeah.
they weren't that nice to us randomizers, so.
Oh, hey, look, it's Terra. Terra's found a drunk man on the riverside.
There's some more good checks too. I mean, the Welk is a very fast check. There's quite a few others.
Yeah, that gives us Welk, Zozo. You can you warp out of World of Balance, Zozo? Always forget.
I believe you can.
Okay. So yeah, that gives 3 checks and Sealed Cave, which is a fantastic place to loot, if nothing else, and Leet River after some encounters. So.
Yep.
That is
Those
4
are
more
kind of the 2
bosses.
you want to find first. Those are 2 heavy boss checks, or 2 heavy boss check characters.
Right, and Terra's always useful. If you don't get any great Espers, you do have the natural magic at least to lean on.
Exactly.
Yeah, it looks like Dark said 1 is Submerged, 2 is Pincer Attack, 3 has Boss Music, 4 has Chupon. So 3
Okay.
is the one I was thinking of that the music changes. Whereas 1, 2, and 4, it keeps the same.
Yeah, so it makes it a little bit easier to identify who's who, especially like on a card like this where you could have both 3 and 4 and you don't want to accidentally mark the wrong one.
Exactly. Well, at least when we got this one, 3 and 4 is a little bit easier to identify. So that's nice.
Exactly.
That was an Illumina followed by a Force Shield sitting in Sealed Cave. It is always
Holy
a
cow.
wonderful place to go. Now, I think
So-
Sealed Cave is the single most checks in a spot. Is that
I
correct?
believe it is. The only other place I could think of that might be close. No, Returner's hideout isn't that high. Yeah, by far is the single most highest chest. Jackamus getting blocked by the guy up top, though. That's always fun to see.
Hey, the final boss
Um,
in this game is 100% the NPCs. You cannot convince me that it is Kefka. I have spent more time collectively in these seeds trying to get around NPCs than fighting at least Phase 4 Kefka by himself.
oh, I completely agree. There's times where like an NPC just gets wedged at the perfectly wrong spot, and you just can't get around him. And you wish you could just like push the person out of the way, but nope, can't do that either. So, but yeah, that was a huge find for Jackamus. I mean, he's got everything pretty much gear wise to really take care of a lot of these bosses.
Yeah, I mean, offering Ragnarok, Illumina, Terra, Setzer, I don't think there's a whole lot here that we really have to look for. Looks like Jackamus has even stopped looking for those chests with that one sitting on the top right.
Yeah, I mean, if I kind of got all that, I'd be kind of at the same spot too. I'd
I
just be.
did not realize that was the faster path. I have always
Yeah, see, I
done
always do the other path.
right.
I
There's
mean,
so
it's
many
probably
ways
like.
to go through this sealed cave, and yeah, Jackamus has 100% just skipped every chest at this point. He is ready to fight some bosses.
Yeah, to the path thing. I mean, you're probably losing what, maybe half a second if you go the other way. I mean, if this was a speed run where we were going for world records, I'd probably take Jackamus's route, but I'm not gonna remember that way, so I'll just keep doing the one way I do know it.
Right. I mean, it's a little bit faster, for sure,
Yeah.
but
Oh, and an elixir in that chest. That's always a good grab.
that is definitely one of those things where with these different checks, you learn what works for you, and um, you kind of stick to it after a while, so that you don't have to keep learning new paths.
And there's an old man at the top of the tower.
There is an old man. I wonder how he got that far in the cave, or was he just lost?
Now he's lost. And
Nightwolf, to answer your question though, Final Fantasy VI, this randomizer is honestly really newcomer friendly. I would say it's a little bit less for than personally I've played 4 also, and 4 was really hard to learn without knowing the base game. 6, I did not know the base game very well, and through a combination of just playing because so much of it is open and accessible. And there were some excellent guides. Ravlin Bay actually has one that goes through every single check on the race one by one, so you know where they're all at. You can easily get to that, and we do have Welk. That is our first bingo boss.
yep, he is row 1, column 3. So at the very top there. But yeah, just to go on what you were saying, Rev, I would say probably the easiest way to start learning this too is to just go in and do with one of the open world seeds. So that way you don't have to worry about who locks what or anything like that. You can just go through each check and see where they physically are. And then once you kind of have that down, it's as simple as kind of pulling up a tracker, and we do have some great trackers that show this character locks locks these checks, and you can kind of build it up from there. And we actually do have a Discord as well. Let me see. Yep, so I'm gonna post the command right there. A lot like Rav said, there's a lot of guides in there. Yep, and Vampstar's the first person to get his bingo on the board, and we can see it showing up there.
And there's definitely the Welk. It's not the fastest Welk I've seen, but when he hides in a shell, but it is one you can get through eventually.
And that was Mount Colts, right? Was that check?
I
Looks like.
believe so. I think he's the only one who actually went that route. Everyone else has gone Terra's checks, not really gone so much into Sabins.
Yeah, I think he's the only one who went to Mount Colts.
Bencho,
And picks up a heal rod for it too.
I spent, well, of course you have to get a heal rod for that very intense struggle. And Bencho, I have forgotten how long sometimes it can take to get through the Gru. Just because sometimes you can just knock him out before he even hides once, and then you just sit there questioning all of your life decisions. But yes, Nightwolf, if you join us and you have any interest in playing it, we got plenty of people. We'd love to bring new people in, love to talk about the game and help people figure out the checks. Super beginner friendly, and as Classy was saying, doing the open world just means you actually get to go through. It's the same as the gated, except gated just means you have to have a character before you can access a check. It's not like Final Fantasy IV Free Enterprise where you have to have, say, the hook to get to any place. World of Balance, World of Ruin are both immediately available, and if you are playing open world, you can also immediately go to the floating continent.
Yep, it's a good kind of a big. I don't want to say beginner because there is a lot of people who still race just open world, but it is a good way to kind of really see all of the game without having to remember what locks what.
Exactly, and there's been some question as to who unlocks what should be. So it's not 100% the easiest to follow into gated without knowing one of the trackers. So it's definitely recommended to use a tracker once you start getting into gated. But open world, you can go through and do as much as you like. There's no problems with that one.
Let's see. It looks like they are checking. Is that Baron Falls or is that? It looks like Leet River that
That
Jack
is
is
Leet
doing
River
right now.
that Jack is sitting in. I have a lot of bones to pick with that river, but I'm glad it works for him.
Leet River is just like the Opera House now that the fixed encounters are randomized too, because you can be going down Leet River thinking you're just going to get something easy, and then all of a sudden the veteran Diabolos fight comes up, which I have had show up twice now in Opera. And when you're trying to get through Opera as fast as you can with that timer, and you have Diabolos and a veteran, it eats up a lot of time.
Yes, Dark, as a non-random example, there could also be integers that if you don't know you can run away from, can spend a lot of time just sitting there dealing with them.
Or if you're unlucky like me, you have somebody who has like Doom Darts on, and they keep attacking them, and they die and then come back.
That I never understood. Do they come back at full health or do they come back at the same health? They just go through that animation. I assume it's the same
I
health.
believe they come back as. I always thought they came back as full. Either way, it's not fun.
It's not fun sitting through the animation when you're sitting there going, I know I can kill this person, but I have to sit here and wait for this.
Exactly. Yeah, there is not fun. Yeah, Ben Show, to kind of Ben Show saying, like, with each character, there is some similarities to this to Free Enterprise, in that like there is gating, so you kind of have that progression. There is some differences as well. Whereas technically, since Kefka doesn't have like a specific item that you need to get to him, we kind of artificially put you must have this many characters or this many espers to get to his tower. It does mean that two different runners can get to Kefka's tower and completely have done not the entire same route. They might have done two extremely different routes and just met the same requirement. So there's some things that are very similar and some things that are different, and that's what makes them both great and different games as well.
Absolutely, and yeah, the wonderful thing about gated and why we do race it most of the time, because for open there was definitely a situation where you go check every place that has chests, or you check all the World of Balance places first, which doesn't matter as much now that bosses are actually shuffled. But we definitely had a situation where you would always go and check the different free checks. That is a tunnel armor that was leading the Empire in the middle of the river.
How do you think the river got there?
That makes a lot more sense. It looks like the Boring Company has made its way through the Leet River.
But unfortunately, though, tunnel armor not on the list, though.
It's not, but I believe that should be some good experience for Jack, because he has been hitting pretty low even with that offering.
Yep, and that's one of the other things that is a little bit different about this bingo that we've set up compared to our normal races. We actually have dialed down the experience multiplier. Normally it's 3 for a standard Gator race. We've actually dialed it down to 2 as well, just because the idea is that you're going to be doing a lot more boss fights in this than you probably normally would like to. And since all the bosses do give XP with what Atmotech has added into the randomizer, the idea was just like, well, we don't want this race to be too fast, so let's kind of slow it down a little bit by this. Is that Magimaster or is that?
Oh, Magimaster! Oh boy! Thankfully, he has a set of Pearl Rods that gets to ignore all of that problem, as long as it doesn't absorb Pearl. That's the only problem we've got.
Thanks, K-Boy. GBF, we will look into that and see if we can get that fixed. But yeah, Magimaster, I thought was on the bingo card. Maybe he isn't. I'm still trying to memorize the bingo card myself just so I can remember who's all on there, but it does not look like he is. So I'm actually surprised that Stellaris is actually going to keep going on and not reset out, unless he just maybe didn't, unfortunately, save right before, which is something that I've done multiple times. You forget to save, so you don't want to reset out.
Oh, there's the reset. So just the commentator's curse. You were just a second ahead of it.
Yep, it's like I can see the future. But Jackamus did find tentacles though, and tentacles are on there.
That is true. I did not see where that was. Was that the Welk location?
I believe so. It's one of the cave locations, and of all the characters they have, I think that might be the only one that is. Vampstar just found Terra as well, so that'll be his fourth character, and so open up some of those more checks for him.
Absolutely. And speaking of mind games, though, I wonder if Jackamus is worried about that Welk spot since he knows that that's been there for a little while. Speaking of the mind games, or if since he has the tentacles now, he's not going to worry so much because it's not on a column or the row.
And I'm glad you brought that up too, because so all of the runners that are on this restream, they all are sharing the same bingo card, so they can all see who has actually gotten what as well. So if in the very beginning someone gets a check really quick, that can kind of give you an idea of, okay, one of these early bosses must be one of these checks. But now that we have quite a few characters who have a lot of boss checks, though, now that you picked up Strago, it gets a little bit harder to tell. So then now you're just kind of making an informed decision, like, okay, well, is it one of my 4 characters that has it? Maybe it is, maybe it isn't. And does that mean Jackamus is further ahead of me, further behind me, things like that. So being able to see who's all marked what actually adds a surprising level of mind games into it.
Absolutely, especially since you have the situation where you can go through and get 4 of your row if you think you're doing really well there and just not find the last spot. Looks like that was an Edgar for taking down those tentacles. I really have to question what he's doing in a cave with a bunch of tentacles, but also...
Well, I mean, he was in a cave with a bunch of tentacles in his castle.
You know, that's a good point. I think the tentacles just really like him.
Exactly. So looking at our off-screen, our off-stream flag, it does look like some people have found Ultros 3, as well as Kefka at Narsh, too. So we do know they're out there as well.
Out there and at pretty early spots. I'd have to say we might actually have Kefka at Narsh because no one has done that yet. And I know that's pretty popular check usually. And there are also some checks that are less popular. It could easily be at Ebot's Rock, and we won't find out from Jackamus on stream because he will not go there if he doesn't have to.
Yeah, Ebot's Rock is one of those things that can take a long time because you are at the mercy of those randomized tiles, just trying to find, it's 25 coral, I believe.
23. And I'm still going to defend it as... a lot of those maps you can kind of figure out. If you just take the first warp every time, it takes a little while. But there are actually a lot of those stops that will you'll find multiple coral in. So there's a lot of questions about that. Personally, I enjoyed playing Diablo 2 back in the day and farming those random tile sets. You kind of learn where the tile sets are. You can get through pretty quick. I'll take that as my advantage.
Yeah, see, I don't have the big enough brain to be able to figure that out. I'm just like, first one I see, we're doing it every time.
Absolutely, and I was glad to see Vampstar actually go not only for the chest on the top right in the little lava cave, but also the one on the bottom left. I don't think he was rewarded for it, but I was glad to see it anyways.
Yeah, I mean, there's some people who tend to like, okay, I've got a few really good pieces, and then they won't check unless it's blatantly like right on the path there for them. Like Jackamus kind of we saw was like that. Once he got some of those pieces, he really did check these. And then others who are just like, I'm going to check everything if I know where it is, because who knows what could be in there. So it looks like Solaris is on the river as well.
Yep, Solaris in the river. We have Jackamus finding the Welk on Mount Colts. Looks like he is going to go ahead and finish that, so he is looking to start that column out, which, as far as bingo strategy goes, that's not a terrible idea.
Yep, definitely not. We have yet to find any kind of good connecting. Like, I mean, if we found, well, obviously we're not going to find a Skull Dragon until we start taking on those on, because the dragons actually are in... The dragon locations are still where they're at, but the dragons are randomized, so just because you go to the Skull Dragon spot doesn't mean Skull Dragon's going to be there. So dragons can be a bit iffy.
But they do give tons of experience and magic points if you need those, so it can be worth risking it.
They do, which is an excellent point. Now, I'm looking at the Welk right now, and looking at what is, like, possibly a bingo off of the Welk, has both Atma, if you want to go across, or down has Atma weapon.
You're not getting out of Atma weapon one way or another. I was going to say,
yeah, either way.
Even looking at tentacles, unfortunately, Jackamus really wants to find that Atma weapon, because that's 2 of his races right now.
Yep. Or, yeah, I was going to say, if he wants to go on the... Yeah, he has not... If he wants to go on the Tentacles line, he's looking at, like, the Goddess statue and Ultra 4, which... The Goddess statue is probably the hardest on that line, but we can't... Since the bosses are randomized, you can't definitively say where those are going to be.
Absolutely. And just to comment on what Benjo had just said, that was actually a comment I made at the beginning. There are going to be checks that in bingo have way more value, even if they give you a heal rod, as Jackamus just found. Even if they'll have more value with the Magic Factory, because normally people reset after the last two. They take the first two bosses, first two checks, and they reset out, because you don't want to do two bosses and a bunch of fixed encounters. Well, now that's two possible bosses on your bingo sheet.
I do think somebody ran into the Doomgaze boss
Yes.
fight on accident.
Jackamus found the Doomgaze boss in the first, 3-4 minutes. It was Shardnook. It is not on our bingo card, so he's probably hoping to avoid that square for the rest of the seed. I don't think he checked it intentionally. He may have. I might have missed that, but I know he encountered the Doomgaze really early.
I mean, it might have been a strategy, and there is Celeste as well.
Celeste is
hiding
stealing
at
from Edgar's castle.
Yep.
Speaking of fantastic checks.
Yes, I was going to say for this one, well, she effectively has actually has 4 bosses. They have Magitech Factory and, I'm blanking on Opera.
Well, she has the Magitech Factory, which is 4 bosses. She has the Opera House, which is 1 boss. And I believe all of our racers have actually already looted South Figaro, so they don't even have to go do the South Figaro check unless they really want the Esper or another character.
Yep, so just to kind of reiterate for anybody who has joined us what we're doing. So tonight is a boss bingo race. So the way this is going to work is the runners are going to check different boss locations, and depending on what boss is there, either kill it, run from it, however they want to do it. But the runners need to, on that bingo card, make a bingo, either across, up, down, however you normally would. And once they actually have that bingo, then they can actually go on to face the final fight of Kefka. We have made it so accessing Kefka's Tower only requires 3 characters, because there is quite a lot of boss checks in Kefka's Tower that could be on your bingo card. And it is a bit of a strategy if you're willing to kind of play it risky. To actually go early into Kefka's Tower to find a lot of those bosses. And you might get lucky and they might be all on your card and easy bosses, or you could very quickly realize, okay, I should not be here this early.
You also have the advantage of possibly taking out a bunch of bosses when you are lower scaling, which can be easier to get through, even though you'll get less experience for it.
Exactly. But yep, so that's what we were doing tonight. We are doing Boss Bingo, which is something, this is kind of the first time we've tried this. We're going to see how it goes. We've done some testies on it. A lot of people seem to like it. So we figured, why not show it off to the stream?
Absolutely. It does, like you said, though, have the advantage. We have an entirely different set of goals as normal. I believe in this situation, Jackamus would actually be fairly frustrated in some respects to a normal seed, because I think he's got almost 7 characters. But that's not what we need. He doesn't need 10 more Espers. He's just trying to get through all of the checks now to find these bosses. We are doing single bingo. They only have to complete 1 line. You would think that would be pretty easy, but we are 30 minutes in. The most we have any on-stream bingo so far is 2 checks, and they are not overlapping at all.
Yep, and looking at just at our off-stream runners, we've only got 4 total found on there, and they are Kefka, Ultros 3, Tentacles, and Welk. So they are quite spread out. We are kind of looking at possibility of doing things like double bingo, single bingo, blackout bingo, things like that as well. We just kind of want to take it one baby step at a time, because we don't start a race that ends up being like a 4-hour-long race, and then unfortunately not be able to stream the whole thing. So we're going to baby step it, and we're going to, if you want to run it, see kind of, hey, here's how I like doing it, and share with your experiences with us. We highly accept them, because this is something new for us, and we're trying to find something that everybody kind of enjoys doing about it.
Is Jackamus going for the dragon? I'm trying to figure out why he's in Ancient Castle.
He might be. He might be hoping there's a skull dragon there, or one of the white dragons or something.
That's a nice chest that I just found.
Yeah, so I believe there is 40-ish. I would have to go back and double check it. 40, 43, I forget. But it does look like he has found a red dragon.
And it does not look like he's trying to reset out of it. I probably would have, I guess in this situation he could have done the check real quick to see if the check was worth it, and then do the dragon to see if it was worth resetting out of. But red dragon, actually, yeah, I guess that is in his row too. That is a really good one for him.
So for actually making the bingo stuff, we are still kind of making it a little bit easier. Yeah, drops the dragon fairly quickly. we are still working on kind of making it easy as possible for people to do it. Right now, we are using Bingo Sync, and I've just been every week been posting like 10 different randomly generated bingo cards, and we do have a guide in our bingo information section on the Discord, kind of where I've talked about step by step how to bring up these bingo cards. But it is something we've been trying to look into to how to do this a little bit easier as well, because there is a few extra stuff to it right now.
On a side note, for those for the character count we're looking at right now, Vamp just found Locke also at Kefka at Narsh. So that's a different check. We're going to see what that one is, but he's also going to get a different character than any of our other racers have, so he might be doing some other checks.
Now, I do think that Locke only has one boss check, if I'm right, his Tunnel Armor, because he has the Inn or World of Ruin Narsh, which doesn't have any bosses there, and he has Phoenix Cave, which has the dragon, which you could check, but that's about it.
Does have the dragon, has some loot. The big advantage, I think, of finding Locke in this situation is there's only 2 of the checks he can need a character, but with as many characters as they've gotten, they really don't need more characters. But he can get that Curse Shield because we have not seen a whole lot of, Fire 2, Fire 3, Ultima, so he could try and get that Curse Shield, see if it's a low count. And if it is a low count, maybe he can get a Paladin Shield for his troubles.
Exactly, and it looks like Vampstar is doing the Kefka at Narsh fight, so we'll actually get to see pretty soon if this is where Kefka at Narsh is. If this is the vanilla location for him, so we'll get to see that in a few minutes. It looks like Solaris is taking on the tentacles right now, so he should be marking that pretty soon once he's finished it.
That is a realm at Edgar's castle. We got Celeste at Edgar's first check. Castle was realm at the second. We have so many characters available so early in this seed. Who knows where the bosses are at?
Yeah, and that's the other thing.
Have
like
we
when
gotten
you
many
get a lot of
espers?
characters. I don't think I've seen too many espers.
I don't think I've actually seen an Esper on any of our Restream racers yet. Unless I've just missed it.
Yeah, I was gonna say that would actually be pretty surprising too.
I'm glad to roll a new seed, I guess.
Yeah, I was gonna say a no Esper seed, which would be pretty rough now that I think about it.
It's a really good thing that it is 3-0, because right now, if this was 7-10, we would not have very many Espers in this run right now.
I believe Leet River was Celeste, wasn't it?
No, Leet River was Terra. Celeste was gotten from Tentacles. Where was it? I forgot where Edgar was. Yeah, we do not have any high-level magic 30, 40 minutes in at this point. Leet River was...
Or it can't be Terra, that's right.
Leet
Maybe it was Celeste. There was somebody.
Good point.
Thank you for checking us on that. Yeah, I forgot about that. But yeah, it was somebody. There is Ultros
Waterfall
1.
was Terra. That's why, because it had the same, the water animation at the end.
Oh, that's right. I believe that is Ultros 1. That's either Ultros 1 or Ultros 3. I believe that's Ultros 3. Without the music, it's hard to tell, but yep, that is Ultros 3, I believe.
Or boss music.
Yep, so that's Ultros 3, so that is a location for Vamp.
Did turn that up a little too loud, but did want to check that music for us.
Yeah, so that will be a bingo card for him. Or a bingo spot for him. Hopefully he checks the right one.
I mean, if he doesn't, we can check him.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is definitely an exciting thing because, especially with this seed being so character heavy, we're going to see people going on so many different checks than they normally go on, which is crazy. Because
this is where I'm glad we are not having to track this.
Yeah, because it's definitely a situation where it's like, okay, well, people have got, at this point, almost every check available. I mean, the characters they don't have that many checks, other than maybe like Shadow with the Floating Continent. So there's definitely a lot of open checks for them right now, and they're really incentivized to just go from different bosses.
And there's Mr. 128 himself, so that is on that line for Jackamus for a bingo.
Yep, Magitech was a good call for him, and that looks like he's actually got, frustratingly, 2 in the column 3 and 2 in row 2.
Yep. Yeah, he is not in a good spot for him. Yep, we will try to let. Thank you for mentioning that, Ben. I will try to let him know.
Yeah, we'll make sure he gets that one for sure. That is something we do need to figure out with these, is that maybe the Ultros is a little hard to figure out. But we'll figure out a good way to get that down.
There he goes.
And Ben, that's fantastic that we can, well, for the restream we can figure out where they are. But even since we have a little bit of confusion here, trying to figure out which one it is when you're running by yourself can be a little difficult. Looks like there's Flame Eater, which is going to give him 2 in column 1 and 2 in row 1, but not anything else. Actually, he's got 3 for the cross, so maybe he'll go for that.
Yeah, he is. Yeah, he's kind of the Atma fight is going to be a rough one though. That one's not kind of a one you're going to want to do. But yeah, unfortunately, it's either that or you look at the Goddess. Although he's also halfway to a cross too.
Yeah, all he'd be missing for cross, and this would be really easy, would be Cranes and Vargas.
And Ultras 3. He has yet to find Ultras 3.
Oh, that's true. Yeah, he's Ultras 3. I was looking at the colors wrong. So yeah, he's in a pretty good spot for that.
Yeah, surprisingly, the setup he had, who knew would actually be I have multiple ways to go now.
I love what Game Boy just said, though. It's fantastic that we get to say, oh, good, Drachmus is now on the search for Atma Weapon or Cranes. I wonder which one he wants to hope for.
I'm gonna laugh if, like, Atma Weapon or, like, Cranes is somewhere deep within Kefka's Tower, too, at a spot where you don't want them to be.
Yeah, I did just see 4 Espers on Jackamus, though. So we have had some come in. Even if he would be traditionally, I think at this point, what, 7-4 almost? It's still not that great for the balance of this seed.
No, but I mean, but again, thankfully, it doesn't really matter too much in this seed. It looks like
having the characters available.
Tentacle.
Yeah, having the characters available is honestly the best value you can get, because that means you can actually go do any boss that you're ready for. Oh,
and Sabin is jumping like a madman down there, trying to get this last tentacle down.
Got it! He got it! It's down!
Nice. So
there was
a check for him.
There was a close fight there. And that might make me actually learn Dragoon Boots at some point and when it's useful, because Sabin just carried him through that fight. I'd say carried, but more of threw him through it.
Yeah. Alright, let's see what's left. What's going to be on the train part of this.
Now, on that note, though, Dragoon Boots, that's just jump as the attack, correct?
Yes.
Okay.
Believe so. Yeah, there's so many of those that you don't use so often that you kind of have to, like, remember what's on them. Yes, because I believe there is a Dragon Horn that makes jump the attack, and Dragoon Boots makes it continuous jump.
Right, and so the Dragoon Boots is automatic, which is almost better if you're trying to use the defensive aspect of staying off of the screen also.
Yep.
But does that just use a standard weapon attack then, basically? With probably a little bit of bonus? I'm not actually sure on the damage of that.
Yeah, I don't use it too often. Here's where I wish our local guru Cecil was here to kind of to school us a little bit, because I'm sure he probably knows exactly how this formula works.
Oh yeah, he's definitely got it on a notepad that he can just copy and paste immediately. One of the advantages of having the Discord is that I have had so many runs that mid-run I have asked a question in our beginners thing and gotten the answer mid-run.
Traveling, and look who it is. Vargas is on the train as well. So apparently Magitech Factory was a huge check.
Magitech Factory, is that was at least 2 of them, because Flame Eater wasn't in the factory itself, right?
Yep, he was.
Oh, okay.
Flame Eater was in the factory, and I think number 128 and Vargas, maybe? No, 128 was not there. Right. I think it was just Flame Eater and Vargas that were there.
Right, so that's a fantastic spot that has 2 of them together, for sure.
Yeah, so it looks like, I don't know if he's ever gonna. Ultros 3 was it Welk Cave, or where was Vargas? Where was Ultros 3?
Ultros 3 was Kefka Narsh, I believe.
Okay, so we'll actually have to see how long it takes Jack to go there. Now that he has so many characters and checks, like
Right.
Yville.
Especially without, lone, because you don't really care as much about the lone wolf check, but lone wolf really makes it more valuable to go up there.
Mhm.
And just on a quick check, I was looking, looks like jump does give a multiplier to the attack, and if you have like a weapon that casts a spell, jump actually adds that damage multiplier too. So kind of like Gao's Rages, it can be really useful for that.
And I do see Rev in the chat has said 1.5 damage for regular, 2 times damage for spears.
Okay, so then yes, there's a spear that I believe casts a really powerful spell that I'm sure is fantastic for that.
Look who is also up in the clouds too.
Oh, it's Chupon.
Yeah, Ultras 4.
Jack is definitely, looking to get a pretty quick run. If he can finish one of these rows, he is everywhere on this board.
Yeah, and it's kind of funny, like, we thought this board was going to be pretty spread out because it started off, and then just certain checks, like we talked about earlier, where Magic Tech Factory and, like, these multiple boss check locations that things like the less open are just so imperative in this kind of race. Yeah, I mean, he possibly could get bingo within the sub-hour if he's really lucky.
That's going
He
to
will still
rely
have
on
to
him
grind a little
going...
bit, though.
I was going to say, that's going to rely on him going to Kefka and Narsh, though. With this many characters, I do see that as a questionable play.
Yeah, I would agree, and that kind of might be what slows Jack down a little bit too, is just because, yeah, why would you go do the Kefka and Narsh when you have so many characters that have quicker checks?
Right.
Not knowing that, although, remember, Jack can see, though, that Ultros 3 has been picked up by Vampstar. So I'm wondering if he'll be thinking, okay, where could Vamp have picked it up at?
That's true, but we have had so many characters available by the time that Vamp put Ultros 3 that he could easily be thinking, well, maybe it's just one of the other character checks, which is possibly why he's doing Daryl's Tomb, in fact, right now, is because he's thinking, okay, well, if I'm going to go for Ultros 3, that's one of the checks we already had. But we'll see where he is, because currently, yep, we've got Solaris finishing Ultros 3 right on screen here, so we do have 2 of the 3 with it, and everyone would benefit from it. Actually, I think Jack would benefit the most from Ultros 3.
Yeah, I think this was... Oh,
And that's a good point, Ben. This would be a lot easier of a mind game to play if it's like, you only had 3 characters available and you went and did every check before you got the 4th character. It's pretty easy to see if you missed one of the checks at that point. But with having, new characters as the first, almost 9 checks.
look who is in the tomb.
It is Kefka. Kefka at Narsh. So that explains why we did see Kefka at Narsh early. So he needs Goddess or Cranes, and then to go check Kefka at Narsh.
Yep.
This is not...
Funny how that turns out.
Because he either wants Cranes and Ultras 3, which means he has to go Kefka at Narsh as 1, and then find Cranes, which we haven't seen. Or he
he's
has
just
to
randomly checking all over for Goddess statue.
Or he has to find the Goddess statue, which in every other situation nobody wants to see.
Exactly. So yeah, this is kind of the interesting parts of the bingo randomizer, or the bingo race, is that normally you'd just be like, oh, I just need to get these last things to go, but now it's like, okay, I could have how many things if I want to complete that bingo line that I go check at. And I don't think anybody has found Cranes yet amongst all of our runners. So Cranes is still out there, and probably not one of the checks that's available right now.
Could be a Kefka Tower. Because there's
Yeah,
probably not a
Kefka
whole lot of
Tower.
people trying that early run.
Nope, that would be a great idea, a great point.
Probably the best place to go try the Kefka Tower strategy. But it's looking like instead he's going to risk the Kefka Narsh, so he's going to be real happy about that.
Yep, he's gonna get that, and it'll just be looking for Cranes or Goddess. It does look like Vampstar's doing some grinding, though.
I
up in the
believe
Burning
he's
House.
just trying to rush to the Burning House. So I don't think he's actually trying to specifically grind so much as just get through the Burning House, see what the boss is at the end. Could be wrong.
Yeah, but like Ben said, yeah, Jackmas actually is in a very good spot because he has 2 options now that he can look at.
Absolutely.
So it'll be interesting to see where that hunt all takes him.
But it also puts him on the other side of it where he can get really frustrated if he starts finding, Ifrit Shiva and then Rizzopass. Then he has 3 possibilities, but he's still missing 1. So
So Ben, bingo allows you basically. We're saying bingo is what allows you to go face Kefka himself. So you have to get a bingo that unlocks basically Kefka, and then you fight Kefka, and that's going to be our signifier at the end of the race.
yeah, if we were
Yep,
needing to
there's-
go a faster run, we could easily do a just bingo and win. But this is a situation we're going kind of the honor system of you need to beat all of the bosses, and then you can go do Kefka himself. You can do Kefka's tower at any point once you have 3 characters, but you do not need a certain amount of espers to get in, unlike other races. I'm pretty sure the burning house is just reenacting the dinosaurs getting hit by a meteor, though. That sounds about right.
I was gonna say, I don't know what a T-Rex is doing in the middle of a burning house, but oh my.
Um, maybe we've got Pokemon coming in here and it's a Tyrannosaur?
It's a Charizard.
Charizard, yeah.
It's the start of a Charizard. There's a T-Rex and there's a Chimera in this burning house. What is going on inside of this person's house?
I think there was an underground animal fighting ring that got way out of control with those chimeras.
So I'm a big anime fan, and I'm seeing that there's a Chimera in this house, and I'm just getting like Full Metal Alchemist visions, where like
Don't bring
the
that
guy who
back.
creates. Yeah, I know it's one of the tearjerker moments of it, but that's just what the first thing that my mind went to.
No one needs that sadness in their life anymore.
Oh, why is there a Chimera in this poor man's house?
Oh.
All right, well, Jackmus takes down Ultros, so yeah, he is on the hunt now.
Yep, he's just looking for Cranes or Goddess, which is still a very funny spot to see for me.
Oh yes, for sure.
And then it looks like our other races, though, no, everyone's still... The only one who's actually off-piece right now is Vampstar in the Burning House. Maybe he's hoping that seeing all of the checks that have already been done, maybe he's going for some less popular checks. I know Burning House is a little slow. He might try and go for Strago's other checks, hoping to find bosses that nobody else found.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely a different strategy, because you're exactly right. You're like, okay, well, it looks like that Jackamus has gotten all these, and he's kind of all over the place. Maybe he's hoping that, okay, maybe at the end of the Burning House, I find Atma, and then you can kind of try to chain that together. But it'll definitely be interesting to see how the strategy of each, as we do more of these bingo races, how the strategy evolves. It's like, okay, do more and more, do you start prioritizing, okay, I got Celeste. I right away need to go to Magitech Factory because of how many bosses it has. Oh, I got Shadow. We are going Floating Continent that we normally would never do right away. So it'll be interesting to see how this kind of goes. And it looks like Jackamus actually is going into Kefka's Tower to see what's in there.
Yep, he is going to try the different bosses. Looks like he might... Oh, I think he's going to go for 4 proper teams, so if he can get through there and kill all the bosses, he might try to go straight into Kefka's Tower, which I'm really scared to see with those level 25 heroes.
Because this is unscaled Kefka too, so a unscaled Kefka at 25, that is a stretch.
Oh, Guardian. Oh,
So, in
that's
this
why the
house-
house is on fire.
So in this house, as a Guardian is burning down the house, there is a Chimera running out and Tyrannosaurus Rex is running out. This house is something special.
It is definitely something special, and looking at that bingo card, I'm real sad that this didn't pay off.
Yeah, that is kind of a rough hit. I mean, he's probably still going to do it just for the experience, but yeah, this is not who Vamp wanted to see there.
Oh, for sure. At this point, like, you wouldn't want to reset out. You've got a bunch of experience. You've probably gotten some loot. Guardian, if you've got some way of getting through the magic, and a Morph Terra will usually get through his defenses, you're in a pretty good spot to actually fight through there, so...
Yep, RPG, this is Boss Battle Bingo. So we are trying to make a single bingo this time around to find basically what allows the runners to go take on Final Kefka. So like right now we see Jackamus is checking all of the actual Kefka Tower, because Kefka Tower, we said is only being required of 3 characters and 0 espers needed, just because there are so many boss checks in Kefka's Tower that there's a possibility that your entire bingo, the rest of your bingo could be in the tower. But he did find a fixed dice in there, so it'll be interesting to see if he uses that at all.
He won't. He hates it. As much as I love it, I know
Yeah.
he's one of those vocal people who hate it. I will say that Solaris is just killing a Gigantos, which is fantastic experience, and
But not what you
also
want.
has the Curse Shield on
Oh goodness.
while doing a
Senior
monster in a box. That was a
Yeah, not
that
a
was
fun
a
time.
risk.
Senior Behemoth not on the Not on the sheet. So that
No.
is one miss for him.
I mean, he has 7 more bosses. I'm still concerned about his experience at this, but would love to see a level 25, or probably level 30 by the time they get in there, but I would love to see a low-level Kefka fight from Jackmas.
And Vamp gets the Guardian down, so that's good to see. Solaris is going to be finding Kefka here, so he's got another bingo spot down.
Yeah, and he is blue, so that is both in his Ultros and Tentacle lines, so he does have some options that he's looking for. Speaking of the mind games, he could try and take the situation to go, okay, well, Flame Eater and Ultros 4 are probably pretty quick to get, so I can keep going for those early checks. We have my man! My man is saving the burning house.
Marho's saving the day. So, looking off stream, it does look like some people have found Data Luma and White Dragon as well. So those are out there too.
White Dragon, I could see at this point because we do have multiple dragons available. So, because you have, let's see, the Opera House, Phoenix Cave. We found Locke was pretty available.
Yep, Edgar. We have for the castle.
Right. So there's quite a few dragons. Well, we saw that Red Dragon was in the castle.
There is Ifrit for Jackmas, who is on the card, but not on the line that he's looking for. But it does put him at my weapon and Rezipas away from.
I told you he's going to find another line. He's going to be one off, and it's going to be fantastic. I'm not a troll. Yep. You can't prove that.
Yeah, this is going to be that race when you're just down to one check, but ends up. So this is just regular bingo. Since this is our first time running it, we wanted to start off with one, see how long just a single bingo would take. And then if we realize, okay, these seeds maybe go a little bit quicker than we expected, we might bump it up to say maybe 2 bingos are required. And we're going to work from there and just try to figure out what's going to be the best for this kind of randomizer. But we are always looking for more people to test out bingo and give us, hey, it took me on average to do maybe just 1 bingo and then maybe try doing 2 to see how long it takes you. Because we definitely don't want these to turn into marathon seeds, and sometimes blackout bingos can become a bit of a marathon. So we're trying to keep it at a reasonable time for a single run, kind of close to what a normal gated seed would be, which is normally, Raph, what would you say for a normal race would be time-wise?
So we've gotten our settings pretty dialed in at this point. On the early end, one of our normal seeds is about 1:30. They usually tend to take about 2 hours. And if it's a really rough seed, about 2.5. So we've gotten a pretty good set of seed for a good time there. So that's definitely an interesting thing to see what this bingo does for these times. I'd imagine it'll be a little bit more variance. But at the same time, that means you could be an hour or it could be much longer. Then that's a very serious question there.
Yeah, there's a lot that we can go into this, but that's the fun thing about trying out something new is you kind of get to work with it, see what's going to work best for everybody.
Exactly, and it does give us the possibility of a lot of different options. We could change some of the settings to dial up, say, the difficulty, because today we did dial back the experience, so people are not getting as many levels as they are used to with all of the normal fights. So it can definitely cause some changes on that also.
Yep. And there's other things we could look at doing. We could look at adding different types of objectives to the bingo. Maybe we add one like uncurse the shield, things like that. So we just wanted to start off with just bosses because they're pretty much the easiest thing to guarantee on a guarantee on a bingo. But we could look at, I know there was an old bingo generator for Final Fantasy VI that used a whole bunch of other random things in there.
Yeah, there's a ton of different goals we can do. I'd be really excited to add some more once we get this a little bit more, accepted and see what people want to play around with. Looks like Vamp did end up taking Chardnook and was rewarded with an Esper for it. So there is some benefits.
Sorry about that, Raph. But yeah, RPG, I can go over the colors. So right now, Jackmas up in the top left of our restream is the brown on the card. Solaris in the bottom left is blue, and then Vampstar in the top right is red. And then off stream, we do have a separate identical bingo card for our other runners as well that they are doing. It does look like they are starting to make some progress. Someone has found Doom on our off stream as well, so he is out there.
I can. Sorry, I'm gonna try something real quick on the thing here. See if this helps out a little bit with our racers. It does block the characters and espers. We don't need that as much in this case.
Yeah, since we kind of know, it looks like the leaders were at Tentacle. Yeah, RPG, that is actually something we could think about if we can find a way to do that. I think Raph might actually be trying to grab the player's screen or something. We'll see what he's able to figure out. Looks like we found a ice dragon. I think that's the one, because none of the naming conventions work normally for these dragons because they were just all over the place. We've got dirt, ice, red.
Yeah, I don't know what you're talking about. There's red and blue. No, wait, that's ice. And then there's white. No, that's water. I never understood the convention on those dragons.
There is no convention. We talked about this last time that I was on the comms. We're just like, so you've got dirt, you've got red, you've got white, you've got also ice, and a whole bunch of others.
You got gold, and then you have skull.
Yeah, gold dragon, who also looks like a brontosaurus. That's not even a dragon.
Look, as long as I can eventually find my blue eyes white dragon, I'm good with that.
I mean, that might be the white dragon, right?
Might be the water dragon. It's hard to tell.
Yeah.
I did add I hope this works for people, since the characters and espers were less important. I did go ahead and just add the colors that they are on the bingo card. So that should help people with identifying which one is which.
Here you go. So he's found Skull Dragon up in Kefka's tower.
And we have White Dragon showing up at the same time. And,
oh boy, this is starting to get interesting.
That is Tritok spot. So that is a spot that absolutely Vampstar is the only one going, because that is Umaro, Tritok, and White Dragons. Well, 2 locations he has to check, and a dragon that he's going to be the only one to do so far.
Yeah. Looking to see. Jack must be having a rough time with the Skull Dragon. Maybe not.
It's Terra. Yeah. As long as he can out damage the that condemned, he should be fine. Though that 300 damage is scary.
What's going to be interesting, so that's going to put him on the Skull Dragon line, though, which requires now Atma and Tritok to finish that out.
I told you that he's not going to have a good time. He's going to be one short in so many different ways, and it's going to be wonderful. I mean, terrible for him.
Yeah, this is one of those where you really start getting frustrated with the bingo, because you're like, yeah, it should have been here, but guess who was here? Not who I needed.
And I will say this is also one of those things. I know personally with these races, I tend to be someone who kind of goes off and I'm like, this check's not as popular. I'm going to go try it because maybe that'll give me a time advantage on this. And that is so wonderful for this bingo because we have Jackamus, who is usually one of our top runners. He is so close to these bingos, and it could take him another 20-30 minutes just to find the other boss, let alone actually get to Kefka at this point.
Yep, so the White Dragon was, just the Tritok Dragon, or the Narsh Dragon, so let's see who's actually at Tritok for Vampstar.
That is not the right line, but that is another bingo hero.
Yep, there is Dad.
So
just waiting for you, frozen in ice.
Speaking of those mind games, though, you got to see Jack staring at those other clicks that he has not seen going through the tower, and he's wondering if they are also, or they're clearly not in the tower where he's seeing these other characters. So it's going to be interesting to see where he tries to go if this doesn't give all of the characters. He's also going to have to walk back through Kefka's tower if he does not find Goddess or Cranes in one of these last spots.
I was going to say, he has a 1 in 3 chance to find these dragons. Or, no, that's not the right math. My math is bad. He has 3 chances to find his 1 check.
Exactly. But 1 check out of the, he has 3 checks. He has to get 2 bosses out of the, 20-some other, 30-some other options that he could still run into. It's not looking like the best odds. And thank you, Ben, for letting us know, Ben and Ryan, actually, to see that dragon.
Yep, thanks, Ben. I am trying to kind of let the runners know in the Bingo Syncs chat, too, if they have missed something, so...
That is a Fun Baba.
Not one of them. Okay, so he's got 2 left.
That is not a Fun Baba, and it's also not fun on the bingo card.
This will be the true greatest moment, is if he checks all of the tower and it's not there, and then has to leave Kefka's tower.
To go back. He does have the advantage, at least, of going back. He doesn't have to care about the different teams. he can just do the advantage of picking exactly who he wants, walk through everything. He doesn't have to worry about the possibility of getting stuck behind a boss because one character can't handle it. So there is an advantage of still finishing Kefka's Tower early. But walking out of here and having to go check all the other bosses does bring you a question of where do you go next?
Yep, yeah, I would say the same thing, because, I mean, who knows, Vampstar might be on the right line, where doing the Umaru check and doing the Tritalk check might be where he needs to go.
Just waiting to
We
see
know
what
where
this
the Red
character
Dragon is. We haven't found Dullahan or Tritalk.
Well, we
but-
just found Doom.
Okay.
So we do have another character that's on the list, and 2 theoretically for a column, 4 for Vampstar that nobody else is going for.
Yep.
So that might
Yeah,
really
this is-
pay off that he's going for the Doom song now.
But we do know that nothing in Kefka's Tower so far that we've seen is Neuropus or Rizopass. So it'll be interesting to see how long Vampstar stays out here, or if he takes the tower checks pretty soon. So this is getting quite interesting, actually. And there is
Ultros
Ultros 2.
which is that's another
Not
one
one of
that's
them.
not good. I've got to say
Yeah.
though, this is very entertaining to look at because we're
Is that
sitting
his
here.
last statue?
He has one more statue after this. There's one more attempt to get one of those 2 characters.
This is becoming quite fun.
And then we've got the Doom fight that's chugging along. It's taken a little bit of work, but he is, looks like, trying to get through it. Red Dragon by our bottom there is also going, so that is working out well.
Alright, let's see. He's got 1 check left. It has to be either Goddess or Cranes.
If it's not, at least he knows that it's not here. Oh no, he's got 2 left. I missed one.
Oh, does he have 2 left?
I
Okay.
think. He's already moved his right character off the side, but he just did the center movement.
Okay, so maybe let's see what's here.
That's a
Dullahan,
Dullahan.
which is on there, but not on the line that he is doing.
And also not one he's going to do.
Oh, so he's just gonna run to see the last check to see. So he has 1 check left.
Yeah, we know he won't find Dataluma, at least not immediately. The question is, though, has he done the right side? He has not,
I
so
think he's about to check it,
he's about to go see if his last check is here. If not, he at
and
least
it doesn't
knows...
look like it is with the kind of delay we have on the stream. But it looks like
Nope.
it is on there.
It's Tritalk.
So he now has 3 different bingos he could make, but none of them are in Kefka Tower, and he needs to find Goddess, Cranes, or Atma now.
I'm a terrible person, but I love this.
This bingo card has become one of the greatest bingo cards, and Vampstar has finished up Doom.
And he has. I have to say, though, looking at this, first off, I want to make the point that Jackamus is using fixed dice
Yep.
to his own... I've definitely seen him make comments that he did not like the randomness, or maybe it was someone else,
Yeah,
but
he hates
he
it.
is using the dice.
We've broken him. We've gotten Jackamus to use the dice.
I have to say, though, if that... Well, I guess fixed or offering is the definite justification for it, too, so...
Oh yeah.
That's probably one of the best case scenarios to use that anyway, so I can probably say forgive that. So yeah, if he does Dullahan, which I imagine he'll do before he leaves if he knows he can take it, with his team.
Then he'd just have to go find Dataluma, and we said Dataluma was where again?
Dataluma was... Tritalk?
Yes, I think you're right. It was Tritalk.
Yes. So, because it was White Dragon, Tritalk, Umaru was Doom,
Yep.
and it was 3 checks that were all in that. That Narsh is very high value.
Yeah, it was a high value Narsh this time.
And it looks like he's not going to at least kill Dullahan right now. He does know where it's at least, if that becomes the last character he needs. Which I suppose when he goes back into the tower, he can just throw all 4 characters on that direction.
Mm-hmm.
He does have that benefit going for him.
Yeah, now he's on the hunt.
He is. He knows it's not Doomgaze. So he really is just now checking every spot, and we are so late in the seed at this point with all the characters that he has no mind games he can go off of to try and figure this out. And even if he could, We have not had anyone find the spots he needs.
Yep, so it looks like he's checking from Baba now.
That is going to be an interesting one. We have not seen Fumbaba, I don't believe.
I don't think we have either. So let's see, is this one of the 3 he's looking for? Meanwhile, we've got Vampstar is down at Elbit's, Daryl's tomb,
and
who we know is a check.
Right, and Solaris is going through and doing Tentacles, which I believe was, was Celeste, which gave more characters, but also I believe was one of the options on the, bingo card. So that's going to be good for him to see.
Yep, and Vamp is going to go pick up Kefka and Arsh because he was the one who was down there. So that leaves him 2 away from going along the bottom and finding Narapa and Rezapass, who we do know, though, is not at Kefka's tower, so it'll be interesting to see if he stays away from there, keeps going.
Right, because this is definitely a situation where everyone else looks at it and goes, do I attempt? There it is. Okay.
What did he find?
He just found what he needed.
Found the goddess? Okay.
So we are looking, sub 130 possible, but it's gonna be tough.
But it'll be depending on, so Jackmas isn't go mode.
Those fixed dice rolls did not help.
Yeah. But it'll be interesting to see if he decides to go straight into Kefka Tower, because he is still a little bit under-leveled, or if he is going to grind a little bit.
That is true. He does have the advantage with Bingo, which you do not have with any other of the runs, is that he knows nobody else is in go mode.
Mm-hmm.
So he does have the advantage of he could try and safely grind a little bit to see if he can get a little bit more ready for Kefka's tower. But I don't know if that sounds much like Jackmas, you know?
No, he's gonna dive headlong in there and just try to take it on.
So I'm going to love seeing that, because he doesn't have a Psycho Science strat, so it's going to be interesting to see what he does if he goes straight into that tower.
Yep, it is possible he probably could end about a 130 time, which he's done that on normal gated seeds as well, so that's not too different.
Yeah, this is definitely one of his faster seeds, and that's about right. I mean, he's got... trying to count 10 characters and probably 6 or 7 espers. So
yeah, I think we have just about the entire cast.
Yes, he's done about as many checks as he would normally do anyways. And the only difference I think in this case is the 2x multiplier instead of 3x. So he would normally be a much higher level, but with the 2x multiplier, everyone is at a lower level.
Yep, so to Game Boy fans, question, he does not know the this is one good thing, I'm glad this question was asked. He does not know about the off-stream card, though, just because he can't see who's on the off-stream card. He doesn't know if maybe somebody on the off-stream card might be further along than he is. He knows amongst the 2 other racers that he's being restreamed with that he is ahead, but there is still kind of that element of, okay, but what's going on in the other card? Maybe someone is about the same spot as I am. And I can say it does look like Zelfer is just the goddess check away on the off stream from being, and he actually just got it as well. So Zelfer is in go mode on our off stream.
So goddess. He's actually no, because there was no others in that line, so he's not. It's likely he hasn't done the Kefka's Tower try yet, but
wait, what are we talking about?
Zelfer.
Okay.
Because I don't think the Kefka's Tower had any other risks, so it's possible he might still have to on the off stream go through all of Kefka's Tower, which is a good thing for Jackmas, is that he can walk through everything. He knows he only has to fight Dullahan before he gets through to the end.
Oh, I see what you mean. Is like actually needing to still clear the bosses. Yeah, he probably might not have actually cleared the bosses at tower, so he still has that time. But he is effectively in go mode on our off stream.
Absolutely.
So, but Jackmas, I think, is still is in the prime position right now to still be first, just because, like exactly like you said, he's cleared out most of Kefka's Tower. Just needs to go take care of Dullahan and then actually fight Kefka himself.
Now, I do want to propose a silly option for a future bingo, just publicly stating it right now. I would love to see a 12-character start so that it's basically open, or we could just do an open seed and just have a lot harder settings with, say, 1x EXP.
Yep, that's something we could do as well. I mean, that's kind of the fun thing with adding a bingo style into our rotation, is it adds a lot of different type of things we can do. We can do gated like this, we can do open like you mentioned, but just have it a very vanilla experience and everything. So you're gonna have to just do all the bosses to probably get to where you need to be. At that point, you might be doing just a blackout bingo because you're not being gated by anything.
Right.
We have a lot of fun options we can do with this if it sounds like a lot of people enjoy it.
But going back to see where everyone else is at, looks like Vamp is checking all the Edgar checks, which we know are some bingo spots, but not the ones he needs.
Yep.
And then Solaris, I believe, is doing something similar.
Yep, I don't think anybody has hit either the Narapa or Zero Pass on either card. The starting characters we had were Setzer and Gogo.
Gogo, that's right. Which almost everyone has moved out of now, because we almost immediately got Sabin as one of the first checks.
Yep.
But yeah, we did have those two early on, and then effectively of the first 10 checks, 8 of them were characters almost. So it's been a very open seed.
Yep, very character heavy at the beginning. Yeah, nobody's found Phantom Train or Ifrit and Shiva. I do know. I forgot. Those were in Kefka's Tower. Just looking at some of our off-stream runners, because I do see some people have a path to Ifrit and Phantom Train. Nobody has done Column 2 at all except for Jackmas. Nobody has found Stooges, Phantom Train, Cranes, any of that.
I believe that's because Skull Dragon was also in Kefka's Tower, so it's probably pretty safe to say that most people are not risking the early Kefka's Tower play.
Agree. Yeah, Column 2 needs some love. It just turned out that none of those bosses were really at the fun places normally people would go to.
I mean, I have to say, if we're going to skip bosses, skipping Cranes, Phantom Train, Narapa, Stooges is a little fun, but all the others are pretty easy to get through usually, so I don't mind the fact that they get to try other of those.
Yep, I don't mind too much either. It is funny that Jackmas did not find Dataluma though, so
that is true.
If we decide to do 2 bingos, yeah, then he'd be good to go. But
that's true. I'm also sad we didn't get to see the train get suplexed. Even though we had the early Saturn. One of these days I'll see it.
Too much time. I mean, it could be a bingo spot objective that we add in there. I mean, I've seen bingo ones like, suplex the train, or throw Excalibur. Like, you have to have found Excalibur and found Shadow and have him throw it.
Absolutely.
There's some other ones like that. I don't believe anybody found Shadow from what I saw.
Shadow has not been seen on stream, at least. That's going to be definitely an interesting thing to see at some point. Just before we get into this Kefka fight, though, I do want to remind everyone, that this being the Final Fantasy VI Worlds Collide community race, we do this every week. We welcome all new people. We are glad to help people learn these races. If it looks, daunting, it shouldn't. This is a super fun randomizer for everyone to come into. We're more than glad to help people out.
Yep, lots of great ways you can learn the game, both with the gated world and with the open. Like Ref said, there's always a lot of people more than willing to answer any question about the seeds, how to approach a seed, things like that. And it can be pretty generous. There's a lot of things you can change on it to make it pretty generous. Like, I know a lot of the times when we race, we turn off no free like Crusader shields or Atma spells. But if that's something, it makes it a little bit easier for knowing that, okay, I do have Atma, at least things like that too. Looks like we're about to start the Kefka fight for Jackmas. I don't know what levels he's sitting at, so I don't know how easy or rough this will be.
I believe he's still in the early 30s, so this is not going to be an easy check for sure.
Look who Solaris found at Owzer's Mansion, though.
Oh, hey, there we go. That's one that's nice. He's looking,
Yep.
Actually, let's see. He is blue, so
He'd be
looking
Doom
for that.
and Narapa.
Yeah, so Doom, we know where it's at. Narapa is still unknown, but in the Owzer's Mansion was the fish.
Yep.
It's an odd painting, but it works.
Yeah. All of a sudden, a bunch of fish come flying out of a painting. Who knew?
And it just goes on. They just keep jumping out. You've got a minute of that after all.
Yep, that is kind of one of the bad things about finding this as one of yours. It's not a quick boss that you can just plow through. You have to kind of wait the time out.
Look at those HP levels on Jackmas, and he's not even bothering bringing up Setzer. That's very concerning for this run.
He's gambling it.
But to be fair, if we see a sub 130 on this,
I would be impressed.
that's going to be an awesome run for sure for Jack.
Jack always seems to have great luck with finding. Even in boss, how does he even have good luck in boss bingo?
I mean, I'm going to say this is one of those things where Jack is definitely very good at the game.
He is, yeah. I don't want to take anything away from him.
Very quick with his inputs. He does know a lot of the bosses. I've never seen him do what I do, which is you go up to Inferno and cast Fire 3 in his face, and he doesn't care about that, it turns out.
Yeah, and he also normally has a game plan in mind on where he wants to go. I mean, there's been times where I get done with the boss and I stop for a second or two and going, okay, where do I want to go to next? Most of the time, Jack just knows exactly, okay, we're going to do this, 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 and this, unless something in there comes up.
Right, waffling about can burn so much time when it comes to this.
It really can.
Like Vamp is going to not, he's already gone to the end of the ancient castle, or no?
I do not know. I missed that.
Because I know that was one of the dragons, but it doesn't look like we have Rizza Pass down for Solaris while we wait for Jack to get through phase 1 here. Did bring up Setzer, so that's good. Did we?
It looks like he's holding on.
I don't know if we actually saw Fenrir or Golem either. At least not that I noticed.
I don't believe it either. But yeah, not that I saw now that we're not really tracking Espers too much today. Vampstar's going to, I guess, just get some 55,000 for a Man in the Woods Esper. Holy cow.
Well, depending on the Esper, it can be worth it, but...
Yep. Looks like he's going to go to do Collapsing House just to try to get some checks out of there and see if he can get a good Esper.
And that's a good point, Ryan. I believe he had actually completed that, since if he had the Red Dragon, I think that was what was at the Ancient Castle. So he finished that and walked out afterwards. We've got Jacquemus going to phase 2. Vampstar is in a burning house. And I think Solaris is escaping a different house. So this is very different spots. Fantastic to see, though. This is definitely one of those things with the open seed, so many characters, so many different paths people are going.
Exactly. Yeah, no, this has been a fun race to watch today. With having so many characters in the very beginning, has made it quite wild.
Let's see. Fixed Dice is still doing some pretty good work. It seems to be his main damage dealer in this case, because I don't think he has any high-level magic.
No, I'm bringing this up, though. If we have an interview with him, I'm going to ask him about the dice.
Yes, please do. As he's his Bolt 3, it looks like, so he does have some magic.
It's not the Fire 3 you normally want.
Right. But he's got Sabin that's taking out individual targets. Gogo's throwing the dice at everyone. Setzer is keeping everyone alive.
Fight,
Phase 4 I'm not as worried about. I'm more worried about that Phase 3 with those Meteos. He does not have the health to take those Meteos to the face. So if
yeah, I guess that's why I was saying the Phase 4, because yeah, he doesn't have a high health pool.
If Sleep gets off a double Meteo, I don't know what he does to that. And we have Solaris playing to my heart and Ebot's Rock. Oh, I'm so happy about this.
The worst moment is I really hope he knows exactly how much he needs and keeps track of it, because there's been too many times where I think I have it, and I go up there and he eats it all and he goes, nope, still hungry.
And it resets your counter. There are definitely some frustrations for starting into that until you've memorized that down.
Yep, you just want to kick that box. Like, why is a box what's blocking you? It's like it's just a box.
That's true.
Climb over it.
And that's true. It's something that playing newer modern games and then going to older games, it's always fun seeing it, and it's like, oh, there's this tiny railing, and I just need to get to the other side, but I can't jump over that railing.
Yep. Vampstar is gonna find Goddess at Fumbaba now.
That's true, and that does give him 3 on that line, which is good for him. Yep. Even if it's not any of his other lines that he's looking for. He's definitely looking for an Arafa or Rizzo Pass, since he knows that can be found now.
Yeah, I do think, though, because, I mean, Flame Eater was in Kefka's Tower, so he would get the Flame Eater there. Or was Flame Eater... No, Flame Eater was Magitech. He hasn't done Magitech yet.
That's true, yeah. And I think that's where Ultros 4 was
Ultros
also?
4 is as well, yeah.
So that's definitely
he's going to find Goddess.
what he's missing, which he might go for after this because those were pretty early checks. So as far as the mind games go, those weren't too late. But it would be interesting to see with all of the different places people have gone, if we end up getting 2 people with the same line. It's going to be interesting to see.
Yeah, I definitely think there will be some. You'll just naturally go to the line because it's the checks that people tend to do more often, and it just so happens that those line up. But yeah, it could be really different. I would like to see Vampstar maybe take the bottom line, but my gut kind of tells me he might go to Magitech pretty soon.
Well, with four bosses there, it's definitely the safe play. And that is true, Ryan. It is just number 24. It is not one of our board, so it doesn't pay off, but I'm still glad that somebody checked it.
Yeah. There's going to be that one seed where it is the check that was needed, and that's when Raph will be justified.
When we get to go into Weebots Rock with Umaro soloing the boss, that is when I will finally have my piece.
So let's see how Vampstar's doing on the Goddess. Looks like he's doing okay.
Did just take a 10 hits to the face. Was not the best thing to see. But he is getting through. Looks like nothing's doing too much damage with a couple force shields that have appeared. Does have pretty high defense, so maybe the Meteos won't end up killing him in this case.
Looks like Jackamus is struggling a little bit with the Phase 2 fight already, so having to use a lot of X potions to keep people up, it looks like.
Well,
I
without
think he's on the last section, though.
without Life 2 or Cure 3, it can definitely be a struggle on that. If Vamp just went to your right, would you find Tritok and Dullahan? Went to KT.
He would have
That is
Dullahan.
True.
Yeah, he would need...
need...
Tritok was there as well.
Yeah, so he could try Kefka's Tower instead. And he would
Yep.
be probably very frustrated at first, seeing that it's... No, because it's both in the same check. Never mind, it would just be good.
Yeah, so Vamp is in the spot right now where if he decides to go Kefka's Tower to see who's there, he's going to get his go mode, or if he decides to go Magitech Factory, he's going to get his go mode. So yeah, Vamp is very much in the spot where, if depending on which route he takes, he could be ready to go. So I'm hoping he does kind of do one of those high boss check areas.
And he is level 31, 33, so if he thinks he could risk the Kefka's Tower going in a little low level, he would be alright there. Speaking of Kefka, though, Jackamus is making it to Phase 3 with all 4 of them alive, even if Gogo is barely hanging on there.
And here's going to be the big moment, where if he starts getting Meteo'd, this could really spell a doom for him. Looks like Solaris is going to reset out of that number 24 fight. I can't blame him. Once you realize it's not on your card.
Not on your card and it's taking too long, then yeah, resetting out is definitely a value for that.
Yep, and you can see every other person's card, so you know, okay, well, they probably didn't do this fight, so it's probably not leading to where I needed to go either. So he can gain some knowledge from that. Looks like he's going to go do the Fumbaba fight, so he'll find Goddess, and then he'll be the same. It'll be in the same position that Vamp is, basically, where if he goes and does Magitech Factory, he'll be in go mode.
Minus Dataluma, so yeah, he'd have to go to Magitech Factory. He couldn't try Kefka's Tower like Vamp can, but...
Yep.
Be interesting to see what happens here. We'll see World of Balance on Vamp, so that is not, he's not going to try Kefka's Tower yet.
Off stream, it does look like Boo is on the same line. One of our other off-stream streamers, Boo, is on the same line, where he has had Flame Radiator just missing Ultras 4, so he's probably about to get that soon. It looks like a couple others are on the same... It looks like a lot of people have come to the same line, where you either went Kefka's Tower and got the Dullahan Tritok, or you went Magitech Factory and you got the left column.
Right, and it looks like a Vamp is going Magitech Factory, so he is going to have double lines, but he will go into Kefka's Tower knowing that he can
finish it up,
so he doesn't have to take the risk of it, which is probably what he's going for at this point. Is also doing a few extra checks is not bad. You get more levels going in, and you're going to have to fight some bosses by themselves, so that is beautiful.
Yep, especially if you're not too comfortable with it.
Exactly.
Here's the Grand Train. Let's see what happens.
With 1 or 2, heroes by themselves, a bad boss can definitely hold you out there.
For sure. Thankfully, I think most of the Kefka Tower bosses were pretty lightweights, basically.
Yeah, there was not too bad. Obviously, with Dullahan was probably the more dangerous one, and that's usually a place where people don't put very many carrots. So.
Yep.
But yeah,
Let's
looks like
see if Jackamus can hold on.
Jackamus just Got everyone their heal. Let's see what Meteo does. Everyone's
Oof, that hits hard. Hopefully, he doesn't double
barely.
Meteor. He does have a Mega Elixir, though, if it really gets bad.
Yeah, but with so little cure options. He does have cure 3, but with so few cure options, I'd imagine he's going to try and save that for Fallen 1.
Yeah. Yeah, you're really hoping for not a double Meteo right here, because a double Meteo would just kind of spell it for you.
Yeah, Terra would survive, but that would be just about his only thing that would survive a double Meteo.
And then you're racing, basically, to try Phoenix down to get the others up before you go to phase 4. Alright, let's see. 2 block to 3 block this time. You got lucky there.
Looks like...
Down goes Sensor.
Yep, but if it can bring him alive, it's going to be alright. Solaris did reset out of Goddess. He at least knows where it is, even if he is not going for it at this moment. So, yeah, going through the remedies on that after that Grand Train, when Meteo can come at any time is...
It's the scary part, yeah.
It's a risk for sure, but when you need to cast Cure 3, you gotta cast Cure 3.
Exactly. So he's racing to get that done. Vampstar, meanwhile, just finished up number 28, but he should be getting his Flame Eater check done.
Also, I don't think I saw him cast Golem, and I definitely don't see Fenrir, so we're going to see what happens with Calmness.
Here it comes. Blocks 1. Wow.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So lucky.
So we might have Kefka, a really mean Kefka, but I think he's got this.
Yeah, but I think if he stays on top of keeping everybody topped up, I think he can get through it.
Right, and I know that I believe during the Battle Royale, he learned that you do not want to have a single character alive during Goner, so he won't have that situation again. Goner,
yeah, for sure.
Goner is split damage and will hit a lot harder if you do not have at least 2 heroes alive.
Yep. So there's Flame Eater for Vampstar, so he is now just the 1 away. He'll be Ultras 4 when he finishes up here. I'm sure he'll be running to Kefka's tower as fast as he can.
Absolutely. And looks like we have the Air Force is what Solaris is fighting. I did not actually see where
Not
he
on the
was.
list, though. But yeah, he's in a cave somewhere. I'm under, it can't be Shadow. I don't know where he is, actually.
All right, Fixed Dice, 300, 200, 2,000. There we go.
Not what you want to see out of your Fixed Dice, though.
Hey, you take it with the good and the bad.
Yeah, for sure. That Ragnarok's proccing a lot, though, thankfully for him.
That's the only thing I'm surprised about, is while it is Fixed Dice, and I guess he doesn't have spells to mimic as much, I'm surprised he does not have Ragnarok with that offering. And
Here comes the Mega Elixir use, betcha.
Yep, gotta keep everyone topped up. And he's got some buffering there to keep all of the commands going in. He does not want to get hit any harder than he has to.
Oh, for sure. Now this is when the Kefka fight starts getting scary, especially because he is a bit under-leveled for taking Kefka on.
Oh, for sure. He's in low 30s. Those health levels are not looking fantastic.
No, most of the time you want to be, mid-40s when you're taking Kefka? At least that's where I tend to be in a normal seed.
Especially with a normal hit taking down Sabin. That was not a hard hit. It was just a normal attack, which is not a good sign for Kefka.
Solaris gonna go check the Phantom Train. I forget who we saw there.
It was on the board. I remember that. Do not remember where, though. Oh, and that was also the offering, which was really high value.
That's right. Yep, he's got it right there. Here comes Goner in a couple seconds. I don't think he's going to be able to get Kefka down before Goner, unless he just gets, some amazing dice rolls here.
Well, when you demand the dice, they do not. They will not be tamed. You have to allow them to be their own thing.
Exactly. He should be okay as long as this doesn't hit really, really bad, but this is kind of where you think they're
there it is.
There it is, yeah. Just a little 130, GG.
Yep, just barely off, but he did get it just under.
Yep. Extremely well done fight. Got scary a bit of time. Moving his Sabin suplex. There's your Sabin suplexing the train, Raph.
Even if it's nowhere else, I'm glad we get to see the comic.
Yep, so we'll be seeing if we can get him in here for a quick interview. He normally likes to do his interviews, so.
This. Oh, Some other music playing for us. Gotta switch all this over here.
Yep, there's Vampstar finding Vargas, so he'll be knocking that off pretty soon, but we know that's not really not what he's looking for. He is purely just looking for that Ultra Spore, which he should be finding in a second here,
Right.
so he'll
I
be
believe
go
that
mode.
was the second part of the last boss, so he's gonna be real happy about that.
Yep, yeah, that was the very last boss that you see there. Meanwhile, for Solaris, I'm trying to see what line he is on. Most likely, if he gets lucky, he can find the Narapa and be on that line. If not, I would not be surprised if eventually he does the same line as everybody else and goes to Kefka's Tower. And then hopefully he does check the Fimbaba, so he would also be in go mode.
Right, and that's a good thing with this one. Eventually, Kefka's Tower, it's definitely a risk. But either Magitech Factory or Kefka's Tower gets you most of a line in this situation, so pretty good options overall.
Yeah, Kefka's Tower gets you column 5, and then Magitech basically got you column 1. Solaris would have to find Dataluma up at the Tritox spot, but...
You know, something I didn't actually realize with this fight that Vampstar's going through is that since it's normally the cranes, you're kind of on the airship fight. But now you're just fighting a Chupon and Ultros who would be on the airship backwards.
Yeah, this is actually where they normally would be.
But backwards.
Yep.
And also in the middle of the factory. So I wouldn't say it makes the most sense, but, you know, can't complain about it.
And there, yep, you should be finishing Chupon in a second.
On that note, I think Vamp found a second offering. I believe he has an offering on Ragnarok and an offering on the fixed ice.
Yeah, there would have been one I thought we found really early. I forgot where it was at.
It was on the train.
I thought there was a second one we found early on, too.
No, I
Maybe
only
a
saw
bit.
the train was the early one. It was the reward for doing the Phantom Train.
Well, I do know that Jack had 2 offerings as well, because Setzer had an offering and Gogo had an offering.
Oh, okay. He just didn't have it on Sabin. Okay.
No. I think because he wanted the possible flare procs off of Ragnarok.
Does offering remove the flare procs?
It does, I believe, and I think we've got Jackmas in here. GG.
Hello, humans. How we all doing tonight?
Not too bad.
You're doing
Congratulations on the win.
You're doing good, fellow.
Thank
human.
you.
So what did you think of the bingo tonight?
I lined up B, I, N, G, and O.
That you did.
We were really hoping, well, Classy was really hoping that Kefka's Tower was going to pay off for you. I was so glad to see that you ended Kefka's Tower with 4 lines that you were one off of.
Yeah, just kind of how things went off there. I think there were 3 different spaces that would have given me a bingo when I went there at first, and it didn't pan out, but, you know, the good news there is that, you know, when you go back to Kefka's Tower, you don't have to fight those bosses again, so I could just stuff all my best party in against the one boss that was nowhere near any of my lines, so I was just like, this boss is kind of a pain, Setzer's my worst guy, so I'll just reset out of this, and if I have to come back, I'll fight it with a better party, or if the other boss gave me a bingo, I would have sucked it out and fought it with Setzer, though I probably would have switched dice over to him instead of the Man-Eater for that fight.
Right, yeah.
And yes, I know I use dice and I don't like them, but
Oh,
when you're going fast, you gotta take what the game gives you.
we were gonna bring that up because yeah, we know you are a very staunch defender of no dice, so that was fun to see you using them.
And yeah, just to
Well, in my defense about me using dice, I used them on a character that I had other plans for that never panned out. Like, I'm one of the people that likes seeing Gogo early because I can effectively level up a character that I get later by giving him their skill set. So, you know, like when I saw Cyan, I'm thinking, all right, if I need to go to the Dream for bosses, then, well, Gogo's going to be my sword tech guy because he's already in the 30s. I don't need to raise a baby for that.
Right, and then you can also, if you get lucky with the rages, any lores, Runic, of course, it's fantastic having Gogo around for that.
Yeah, just lots of useful things there. Didn't end up putting Runic on him. It definitely occurred to me before the final battle, but I guess I just forgot to, but it wasn't the end of the world, really. I mean, Runic would have worked well for me because I think outside of using a couple Bolt 3s against the tools part in Phase 2, every damage I did throughout the entire seed was just with the attack command tonight, I think.
Yeah, it was a very physical-oriented seed for sure when it came to it. We did have Bolt 3, I think, from the Tritok Esper. Was really the only attack spell we saw. But we did get quite a lot of physical attackers with the double offering that everyone seems to have, so...
Well, I found good weapons to pair with the two offerings. I sold my first set of dice, but the second one I got at the point where it's like, I don't need shops anymore. Like, the dice in the offering was more or less something for Gogo to do on some of his turns for me, really. I mean, Sabin and Terra were carrying my offense with Illumina and Ragnarok, respectively.
Yeah, for sure. So, Jackman, you were one of the people that helped us do the original test bingo seed with us.
Yeah.
How do you feel about just kind of the boss bingo kind of as it is right now? Is there any things you would like to see changed? Anything that you do like about it, don't like about it?
I'd like to see the level cap on enemies go higher, which is something I had brought up after our test, but didn't happen for these settings, and by the time I noticed it, it was like 2 minutes to go time, so I'm like, I'm not going to bring it up now, but... I'm bringing it up now, but not at that time, and, forcing a re-roll right before we start, way too much effort and all that. One thing I really like about it is the gamesmanship. That Ultros 3 spot, I basically had pegged as being Kefka at Narsh for most of the race, because I saw it, maybe it was Vamp, I think, that checked that one real early, and I'm thinking, okay, just based on what our options are and where I've been, it has to be there. And, I even tried a sneaky thing by putting a baby realm in the party to just sketch and one-hit kill the thing, since I was 100% positive it was there, but level difference was too much at that point, I guess. But yeah, little gamesman things like that, since you can kind of see what other people have found, and you can maybe try to mental out their path based on what you've done and have or haven't seen. I kind of like that mind games aspect of it.
Yeah, that was.
It didn't end up mattering because the diagonal line wasn't my bingo, but
yeah, that was one thing we definitely had noticed, especially even with the starting with 2 characters, which I was told was not normal for the bingo test. There were 10 characters in the first 13, 14 checks, so there were so many available that it became a question of, do you guess that they went this route or with this character?
Yeah, it opened up a lot, which was nice. It gave you a lot of options, and generally outside of the first 10 minutes or so, where I, wanted to take some freebies to try to get a little bit of early power, it was just like, all right, what's the fastest boss I can go to right now? And, failing that, where's a place where I can go to fight multiple bosses? Like, all 4 bosses in the Magitech factory were on the card tonight, so that was pretty cool compared to the test where I don't think any of them were on the card.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
And
so that was fun.
Did you like the difference in value? Because this is something I noticed, is that with the bingo, you have certain checks, like the last check of Magitech and the last check of Floating Continent, that people usually reset out of, but that's a boss that you need to check. And Magitech Factory's last one is 2 bosses for 1 check, which is normally not great and people reset out of. But in this case, that's 2 bosses in 1 check.
Well, the last one of Magitech is the only one that can give you a character, so if you're looking for those, you won't reset out of it. But yeah, in general, it's much faster to warp out than hop on the minecart. But in a situation like this, where you get 2 bosses out of it that could potentially be on your card, you have way more incentive to give it a try. So, and I do like the emphasis on doing checks where you actually have to fight something to get to the end. Like the free checks, I mean, they're gonna maybe help you get started, but ultimately they don't serve you in getting your ultimate goal, which is to get a bingo.
Like, one of the things we were talking about, kind of going back to the gamesmanship too, is that since you can all, at least for the restreamers, you can all see each other's cards, you can also definitely start to go, okay, they are 1 check behind, or they are in go mode, but I'm also hitting go mode, or I'm about to go mode, I'm on the boss now. And since all 3 of you can see that, you kind of had this moment like, okay, how leveled am I? Do I think I can take Kefka right now? And how leveled are they? Do I think they're going to have to do a little bit of grinding as well to go take Kefka, based where that we're probably at the same spot? or do I think they're going to go straight to Kefka, so I'm going to have to basically do the same thing if I want to win? You kind of get that mind game going on there too.
Yeah, absolutely. And just kind of based on where I was compared to everyone else at that point there, I was thinking, you know, I probably could get away with taking just a few minutes to gain some more levels to give me some insurance in the final fight, but I opted, I'm over 1,700 hit points on all my characters. I can survive a Medio. I'll just go in the fight and hopefully fake my way through it. And Tier 3 was a little sketchy, but I mean, with all that force gear on, it ended up working out perfectly fine. Like, my actual characters' defenses were pretty bad, as you saw some of the physicals just one-shot most of my team there throughout the final battle. But yeah, the evasion was super high. Like, I was a little worried about calmness, but whenever his first calmness went at Terra, like, I'm just thinking, she's going to block it. Her evade is over 90 with Aegis and Illumina, so I'm perfectly fine there.
Yeah, we were mentioning that too, because yeah, there was no Fenrir or Golem found, so we were like, man, yeah, a single bad calmness right here could really basically end that run on Kefka's Tower. So there was definitely a fingers crossed moment when we saw the calmness, and thankfully she blocked it, like you said. But yeah, it's just kind of some fun things. We were kind of debating about, okay, where is he at level-wise? Do we think he can take on the tower? But yeah, he definitely rolled through it right now, and it looks like Vampstar's about to actually start doing his statue fights as well.
Yep, I see the bingo for Vamp. Looks like the exact same one I ended up with, but
well, so that's actually
the end.
the interesting thing about this is that Vamp didn't do the early KT, so he found Goddess and then went for the Magic Factory and found the other two. He's going to have double bingo
Yeah.
by the end of this, because he will have found the next two fights, I believe, are Tritalk and Dolahan, so he will actually have two
Yep,
here.
right.
Yep, this was one of those where it lined up that you could either get the bingo taking what we'll call like the Magitech Factory route, or you could take the Kefka Tower route, because Dataluma was at Tritalk spot, so you would have found Dataluma there, and then the Red Dragon, I think almost everybody has found, and then you had Tritalk and Dullahan up at Kefka's Tower. So it just kind of worked out that two of those lines were basically two ideal ways to go.
I'm betting
Well,
that...
I never went to go fight Tritalk, but at that point where I went to Mobliz, if I went there instead, I guess it still would have given me a bingo, but over on the vertical O instead of the vertical B. So yeah, there's a lot of ways to complete like the bingo seeds, just like there's a lot of way to complete the standard 7-10. So you know, people go all over Hell's Creation there, but at the end they kind of end up in the same space, and the final battle is always going to be interesting, because it's a matter of, you know, what gear did this person find? What spells did that person find? What's their level like? Do they know some sort of crazy thing to help them get through, like, you know, like low 20s final boss fight, which would be pretty rough with the final boss, you know, actually not being scaled anymore, right?
Exactly. And that's why I'm wondering if, I see Solaris is at the Burning House for now, fighting Guardian. Unfortunately, we said not one of the spots, so... But he's also kind of in the same spot. If he goes and does Magitech Factory, he is just the Goddess check away, and eventually you're going to have to go. Everybody's going to go check Moonbaba, and then he'll be in go mode. Or he's kind of in the same spot. He could go do Tritalk, and then he goes to Kefka's Tower to see what's there. But it is kind of very interesting that, yeah, the priorities of what boss checks you want to do has changed in a race like this. You want to go do your floating continents, you want to go do your Magitech factories, things like that is where, like, before you'd really never do floating continent unless you basically were locked to the point where you had to do it.
It is one of the longer ones. If you can do it really early, the 3 forced encounters before the double bosses can be a good way to jumpstart your character's levels. Like, if you start with Shadow, it's not a bad play to go there after you check the obvious freebie at Gao's house, right?
Yeah.
And that's also a good point, is that you get two, you get 3 bosses basically in the first little bit there, even if you don't do the final, you know, running through the forced encounters to get the final boss. There's still a lot of bosses that you get to check pretty quickly doing that.
So looks like Vamp's on the duel on now, so he'll be finishing that up, but he's, like we said, he's already in go mode. Jack, do you think that, like, kind of going forward, would you like us to keep it at, like, the single bingo? Do we want to possibly look at maybe you have to do 2 bingos on there? Kind of what are some of your thoughts there?
Based on the 2 races I've done thus far, I've been right around the 90-minute mark on both, I guess. 2 lines I think is probably fine. Just that I know for the time being I tend to finish a little faster than most, even though there's plenty of people that are gonna catch and surpass me in the near future. Guarantee it. Mario to the Battle Royale, by the way. But
Through
it's
almost no fault of your own on that one either. That was a rough seed, though. Which is which is the advantage of
maybe.
this bingo also is that you know, these seeds can be so drastically different. If you have the seeds that we've seen a lot of times where you only have one spot that's going to have a character, and so everyone's going to do that one spot and then the next one spot, you would still have everyone kind of fill the same bingo, whereas you have seeds like this where it's just the world's your ocean.
You were probably funneled a little bit at the start based on the character progression that I saw. I think I ended up with 10 or 11 characters by the end of it. But yeah, Savin was free. I'm assuming everyone went there and picked him up from the word go, because sets or start, it's just a free check. You might as well go there. And then things probably spread out a little bit there, but I mean, Barren Falls wasn't difficult. It's probably Savin's fastest or second fastest check.
Hmm.
And, you know, Terra was right there, and, well, from there, you know, the world's your playground, like you guys said.
Yeah, the other thing we had been talking about doing is maybe not doing a gated seed for this, but maybe doing this as like an open seed where we do it open, so that way you have all the checks at the very beginning, so there's no funneling on it, and then it's just a race to find your bingo card as well. So there is some other things we're looking at on kind of ways that we can change this up.
Oh, open would be interesting to try in this format. The main problem with open, though, is that some checks are just infinitely faster than others, and, you know, even in a bingo situation, there probably will end up being able to find an optimal route for open world to just do the checks in. This is going to be the fastest boss. This is the next fastest boss, because, like, as it is, like, open races fell out of style because the first 20 minutes were everyone doing the same thing. You'd go get, you know, the freebie at Gao's dad's. You'd get the freebie in Kalingen and South Figaro and loot all the chests. Like, everyone did the same thing at the start, so it wasn't too interesting.
Which is one thing I think that bingo might actually bring it back as a possibility, because do you spend that first 20 minutes, you know, trying to get all those checks, or do you get the first, you try to get that first good item? As soon as you can get anything to kill a boss, you just start charging into bosses head first, trying to get that rush ahead. And then
Yeah,
once you're doing
and
those, do you try and race everyone on all the fastest checks, or do you know, like me, I always love doing Ebots Rock because I'm usually pretty fast at it and people will put it off. If I go do Ebots Rock and I find, you know, a centerpiece of the bingo card, that could be a real big advantage for me.
Yeah, that's more of a meta play than anything, though, because you're actively going for a place that is not a preferred place people can go. You're straight up gambling at that point. It's, I'm willing to gamble that this check will basically, in the case of a gated seed, unlock the seed, or in a bingo, you know, get me the center square or one of the corner squares, something that'll give you multiple lines possibilities.
Right, and I just think that
For
puts it.
everyone else who'd be like, oh, I don't want to do this check because it takes too long or it's awful.
Tower fight, though.
He is on Kefka's Tower fight. He did finish his thing, and he's got his double bingo going on. I believe Cyan, though, was one of the last checks that most people have done.
Yeah, there's so many. I have a list of from an old bingo card that someone did, or an old like bingo generator that had a whole bunch of them on there.
Yeah, and that's definitely something I'd like to see, is have, you know, more either objective or kind of treasure hunty ones. Not necessarily too hard to find, but...
Hmm.
How about equip a heal rod? Because no one ever does that.
I could deal. Yeah. And everyone always gets a heal rod. It's in every seed, so that wouldn't be a problem. Don't see where there'd be a problem with that.
Yep, everybody found that one. I mean, I could probably pull it up right here, the document that I was looking at that someone sent me for some older ones. But there was like Decursed Paladin Shield, some things like that, which that one could be.
That's not a bad one, honestly, because it's not
not.
too often that you're not going to see Locke over the course of your character and Esper gathering.
Right, and it's not a situation where you have an item that you have to find a specific treasure chest to get it, but instead it's you'll eventually find them in a check.
Yeah, for sure. And, you know, I mean, I kind of like that as being a bingo space, because that incentivizes people to maybe actually fight a few randoms here and there, too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think there's a lot of fun stuff that we can do with like a bingo style like this. I just wanted to start off with boss bingo because that's probably going to be the easiest one for people to kind of do as their first time. It's pretty self-explanatory. Find boss, kill said boss. But yeah, definitely there's a lot of fun ones, different objectives we could do with this. I know I would want to try to figure out how it does it, but like Pokemon does like a Cinco bingo, where it's not like a blackout, but it's like you have to fill in one bingo card, and then once you've got a bingo on there, you go to a next bingo card, and you get like 5 different bingos across 5 cards. It'd be tricky to plan out, but it would be interesting to see if there's a way to do it. But
it would have to be more generic settings on the bingo card rather than like a specific boss. Like, it'd have to be maybe some sort of cumulative progression or something that you can accomplish in multiple ways. Like, something as simple as reach level 40 could be a square for that, because that's something that, you know, you're guaranteed to be able to do without hunting all over the entire world there.
Or a couple others, like Teach Strago or Gao in New Rage or Lore would be an interesting one.
Yeah, something as simple as that. As long as it's not a specific Rage or Lore, you know, and maybe something like that incentivizes you to try those characters out a little more. It's not like they're really bad characters or anything. It's just that learning their skills takes time, and that really hurts them if they don't start with good skills, especially in Strago's case, because he, let's face it, has the absolute worst checks out of any character right now.
And that's something, honestly, we could test just right now, or not right now, but kind of in the future of like, let's add an objective of teach Gao, or Gao has X number of rages, or like he starts off with how many, and it's like, okay, well, you got to teach him at least 2 more, or you got to teach Strago at least 2 more of his, I'm blanking, his learnings, basically. He's a blue mage.
Lores, yeah. And I would
Yeah.
probably say just doing something like learn a new one rather than a specific number, because if you get really unlucky in finding those fixed encounters, or maybe you don't know which fixed encounters do which,
Yep.
could be a little bit of a barrier. Whereas just learning a new rage is just do the jump.
Yeah.
On a side note, we have Solaris in Fanatic's Tower as the only person we've had check it. He did skip the dragon, which I believe is a little
think he's
risky
going
because he
to
hasn't
that
gotten Whiter Skull Dragon, but he is trying out the top of that tower.
Yeah, I'm wondering if Solaris just kind of a bit too hesitant to. I'm wondering if he's like, I don't want to check Kefka's tower before I have a bingo. I'm wondering if he wants to go in with a bingo, which is gonna
Well,
hurt him a little bit.
I can tell you the reason why Solaris didn't look at the dragon. It's because if you look at the card between myself and Vamp, we found the 3 dragons that are on the card. So it's as simple as if the boss at the top here is not something that we've checked off on the card, then Solaris knows for sure to skip the dragon because it's not one of those 3.
That is
Yeah.
a good point I didn't think about. I was thinking you would check the dragon on the way up, but there's no reason you can't check the dragon on the way down.
Yep, just more of that kind of mind game and kind of learning how a bingo card works in bingo card races, where you're like, yeah, by process of elimination, it can't be this.
On the side note, back to Kefka, we do have Vamp getting to Phase 3 with all 4 of them alive. He is a little bit higher level, so he doesn't have to worry about Meteo quite as much.
Yep.
We have the
Right
Stooges!
Did he find the Stooges?
Found the Stooges!
Did nobody found Inferno though? So unfortunately, that's not who he wants to see though.
Oh.
'Cause he hasn't found number 28 either.
Well, the good news is that Solaris should know not to even bother with the dragon because none of us checked those Stooges. So there's no way that that dragon in Fanatics is going to be one of the 3 on the card. So there's no point even looking at that.
Right.
Where did Solaris get Ultima, I wonder? Uncursed Shield, maybe? or-
Uncursed Shield, yeah.
He did.
Both
What
him
was-
and
what was
Vamp had
number on it?
finished it.
What was number?
I do not remember what the number on the Uncursed Shield was, unfortunately.
Oh,
I
okay.
did not catch it. But yeah, he did spend the time to actually uncurse it, and that was kind of something we were looking at, going, "Oh, that's a commitment to it." But
Because it was quite a few fights. I saw both of them have that on, so it wasn't like a 1-5. So probably beneath 12, but I don't think it was a 1. Definitely not a 1 or a 2.
Vampstar's not having a fun time with this statue or with this Phase 3. I think he
Yeah,
got.
definitely not, no. Anyway, folks, thanks for handling all the tech and commentary. You guys are great people. But I feel like I should be ducking out here now since we got Vamp to finish up, and there's a couple other things I may or may not want to do this evening.
Thank you
All
very
right,
much.
well, we will talk to you later, Jack.
Thank you very much for hanging out.
go, Bruins!
Thanks, Jack. All right, so yeah, let's hopefully Vamp can recover this. He was having a bit of a rough time at the beginning. He's down to his Terra's already down, his Go-Go's down.
I don't think he has a good way of healing, and I just saw Calmness, but both of the
Lox-
two are alive. I'm very confused.
Yeah, I don't know. I think he's hoping that this Fixed Ice is gonna kill the girl, and then he doesn't have. Because remember, if Fixed Ice, if he doesn't kill that girl in the back, she is gonna life 2 back the guy.
Right, but what caused Calmness when they're alive? That's what I'm confused by. I thought
I
Calmness was just a
No
counter.
idea.
I saw him
This
cast
is
Odin, and then did very little damage, and then I saw Calmness. Maybe that was the response?
Yeah, this is a new one to me.
Girl
The
has
girl
a
has
version? I have never seen that.
Yeah, I've not seen that either. I've always just been like, oh, you gotta drop her ASAP.
Oh, no, she has Calmness, but I think it's a different effect, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, this is truly the worst part of the Kefka fight. The girl and the guy are just nightmares to deal with.
Good news
Now
is,
he has gotten some good rolls.
Yeah.
Hopefully, locks it.
yeah, 9k damage, Fixed Ice pulling through. But he did not have a way of getting Terra or Gogo back up, so I think he's praying that no one else goes down.
Yeah, I think he's gonna hope for just Fixed Dice, like God rolls, to just get him down before a goner comes through.
For the record, though, I'm gonna say Calmness is scaring me less and less nowadays, because that is 4 people I have seen in a row go in with no Fenrir, no Golem, and block Calmness every time.
Yeah, you say that, but then you're gonna go in there and you're gonna get double calmness and both get dropped.
Oh, 100%. That's not a question. I'm just saying that that's gonna happen
Kefka will
now.
be like, look, you're calm. You're less fear of me. I'm going to show you why you're supposed to fear me again. Now, I do think, though, he does have... I guess he has, obviously, Umaru and Celeste. And maybe Celeste is just like, okay, look, just don't die for a little bit. Give me a Phoenix down if I need it. But I don't even think he has a Phoenix down. Otherwise, he would have got up
Right.
two of them.
And I think that's the problem. Now, Sabaton Setzer is his main damage dealer, so he's good there. But there is the downside here of, as much as I love Umaru, and I really do love him, with this low a level, he really is just risking counterattacks with that Umaru, so I'm imagining that Umaru is going to go down hard.
Yeah. He is getting some pretty good rolls, though, on his fixed dice. If he can keep this up, he might be able to get through it before the Goner comes out, which is really what he needs.
Right, but that...
Oh, there goes Saban down before the Mega Elixir hits. That is not good.
Right, but he is leaning into the fixed dice. Oh no, that's not good.
That counterattack that you were talking about. Oof,
He has no
this might
life.
be it.
I think that's no good to
no.
see.
That is one of the reasons, like much like you brought up, it's like unfortunately Umaru is not good for this fight at all. It does look like Solaris is going to do Magitech, so he should be getting his Ultras and his Flame Eater now, so he will be in Go mode as well. And Solaris should be a little bit higher level than both Jack and Vamstar, because he has been doing more checks than the others.
Right, so he'll have no problem getting through, but that is going to be a reset on Vamp with no resurrections left.
Yep. Kefka is one of those fights where regardless of how ready you think you are for him, he is not a pushover at any stage. I mean, we definitely saw Jack was having to be very on his toes, making sure he was doing the right things at the right time to be able to handle him. Because he is who he is for a reason.
And I will say that is actually one of the changes we made a little while ago at this point, but one of the changes was made to turn it into scale or unscaled Kefka, and I actually like that. I do find it easier because it's more predictable. Because the thing is that if you have the unscaled Kefka, I've had so many times that I went in at a low enough level that I literally just got double medioed before I did anything. And that is just such a problem compared to scaled Kefka, where he hits harder. Don't get me wrong, but you can count the HP. You know exactly where you're going to be hitting the scales.
Yeah, and I used to be very much a supporter of this unscaled or the scaled Kefka, but more and more that I have raised, I do feel this unscaled Kefka is a little bit, like you said, much more predictable. You know what points he's going to do certain things, so you can kind of plan around it. Where an unscaled Kefka, you would just randomly hit him, and you're like, oh, I don't know if that pushed him over to his next threshold. Yep, yes it did. Here comes the double medios, and I'm done.
Right. Or if you went in, you tried really low level because you're like, I've got a lot of armor. This is going to be great. As soon as you hit phase 3, especially if you didn't get healed up after, say, a Demi or a 10 hits, and then you just get followed up by double medio, and that's the end of that run.
Exactly. So Vampstar's going to go again. Hopefully he'll have better luck this time and not get 2 of his characters dropped right away in that second fight going into, or was in the third phase they got 2 dropped. Wherever they got dropped, you don't want to see that happen again.
Yeah, phase 2, he lost 2 people and couldn't resurrect them, so hopefully he's got, probably his Terra and / Gogo have life, so that's probably the real issue, but should be going back in. Solaris is finishing Flame Eater now, so he's going to have Ultras 4 here in a minute. So he will also be going into Kefka's Tower soon. So that's going to be interesting.
Solaris is one of the few people that actually has a bingo if they found Inferno anywhere as well, because he had, because Doulahan's going to be one of the statues, so he would have had to gotten that. So, yeah, he definitely did check. The Kefka, or the Fanatics Tower check was, definitely kind of a, whoa, nobody checked there at all, and probably would not have checked there unless it came like one of the last options you had.
Right, and that's like I said, one of those plays that I mentioned. Fanatics Tower is not a fan. If you think you can take it, though, it can be such a theoretically good risk, because if he does Fanatics Tower, finds another character, takes him to Inferno, he could have a bingo that nobody else would get, and maybe that would have went a lot faster, but on the gambling aspect, maybe it's a lot slower.
Yeah, and that's kind of one of the things that is a little bit different with like the boss bingo to this, because it is one of those like in just a normal gated seed, you go all the way up there and you find a character. Okay, well, there might have been other characters that were quicker and faster to find to meet your 710 requirement. So it might, unless it's literally the last check you have that gates it, normally is not a good idea. But exactly like you said, in something like this, it could be the complete opposite. It could have been that Stooges, and you're like, oh well, found it for in Shiva and found number 28, found Inferno, and you're basically done. So he should be getting that done pretty soon. Fingers crossed that Vamp Stars, Kefka's Tower, second attempt goes a lot better for him.
Absolutely, yeah, I'm looking at that. He's definitely got all of he has Cure 2 and 3 and Life on Terragogo, so having those two go down was
Yeah.
definitely the downside. And
Yeah.
also looking at this, Mirage Vest, which is something I learned about Mirage Vest, is it resets on every phase. So
Did not know that.
yeah, so if you take that in, that can actually be a pretty good way, especially if you have 4 of them. It can be a way to get through Calmness. If you get through Phase 3 before they wear through your Mirage Vest. You have a Magic plus 2 Esper, you're going to take him anyways because you put, or well, no, he doesn't use Magic. Never mind. I was going to say if you
Yeah.
had someone else and you got 4 or 5 checks with boss experience left, you could bring them in with a Magic plus 2 Esper. They're not going to have as much HP as some of your other characters, but they're going to still hit quad 9s with that Esper.
Yeah, but just all fun things. Like you said, this is still, for being a randomizer, still a fairly new randomizer. We're getting new stuff all the time, so we still get to talk about fun things. Like, here's some small things we could tweak to possibly make it a little bit better. It looks like Vamp Star's having a much better go at Phase 2 this time than he did last time.
Yeah, he's definitely focused on keeping everyone at high health.
And Solaris is in go mode now too. It looks like he is rushing over to Kefka's Tower.
Yep, he's just
Although I
going
don't
to
think
heal
he
up,
hit it the first time.
and then he's
Oh,
going to go
that's
in.
right. He's probably going to save and heal. Yeah. Okay.
Although I have to say with Vamp, I'm curious that why he's not taking out that 10 hits early, because I think that 500 damage a hit. No wonder that was a problem.
Yeah, especially if you don't have great, because we didn't have great physical defense in this seed, so you're really hoping for evades, you're hoping for dodges, blocks, things like that.
Right.
Which he is getting a very good number of blocks, or misses, which is good.
Yep, and now he's going to have that Phoenix down come down, followed by a Cure 3 on Terra. He's in a much better shape this time, because there shouldn't be, well, other than Southern Cross, anything that'll take anyone down. It's unfortunate that time between the Cure and the Phoenix down.
So you just had to say it.
Yeah.
Commentator's cursed, but thankfully only Go-Go went down.
Right, but that does waste the Phoenix down also.
Yep.
As his only option there. And he only has life 1 rather than life 2, so that is going to be a problem bringing him up and curing him. But alternatively, he might just let him go. Oh, he's bringing him back up? Never mind. I say things. They happen.
But yeah, he for sure is having a much better time this time. He's getting a lot more blocks on stuff. Celeste must have a fairly high elementary resist or something, because Diffuser only hit her for 47 damage.
Right, well, we've had tons of Force Shields, I think.
Oh, that's right, we did. Jack was saying that.
They've got plenty of magic, it's just the physical is really the issue. And like you said, though, that's why his Sabin went down just to a regular hit from Kefka.
Yep.
On the other note,
like he has execution.
we do have Polaris now in Senior Behemoth. I think that's like the 3rd spot in.
I think so, yeah. I think he's making pretty good time through it.
Yeah, so he's getting pretty close, that's for sure. He is at least probably going to hit Kefka before we finish. That's going to be really close.
Kind of got lucky there that Go-Go was actually stoned, so he survived through that Murtron, because I don't know if he could have taken it.
Exactly, and like I said, as long as he can, that life 3. As long as he can then remedy him, all he does is lose a turn realistically in the situation. Rather than having to, either life 2 or life and then cure up somebody, so it has its benefits.
This phase 2 is still giving him a bit of trouble, though. He's been having some bad luck with just, finishing it out.
Right, and that's definitely one of those things where I've definitely gotten to a pace where I try to go target by target, whereas he's doing a lot of AoE, because if you knock out everyone in one AoE, you're going to have a really serious counterattack, which is not going to be fun.
Yeah, and that's kind of what we're seeing right here, and that's kind of the downside to the Ultima casting, is that you're going to get all of their kind of end triggers all at once, and if you're not ready for it, it can really hurt.
Right, and that's why I actually really love having, one character with offering fixed dice, or offering in some number of weapons, or even just one person casting Flare, because then you can offset their HP enough that theoretically you only take 1 or 2 at a time.
Yeah, you can stagger it a little bit. Yep, exactly. But he's still trucking along. Everybody's still at full health. So now I think he's down to just 2 spots left, because I think the fixed dice are only going to the Tiger and to Man in the back, or whatever his name is. I said Magic.
Right, and that was an entirely blocked quarter. Just fantastic to see at this point.
Yeah, because at this point you really don't care about Dispel. He can cast Dispel all he wants. In this randomizer, you don't see a lot of haste 2. I'll occasionally, if I'll have haste 2, I'll cast it, because it is sometimes really good to have up, but there's not a lot that we really care too much about getting dispelled.
Right, and the only time I ever have haste, I love running shoes, or the marble shoes, especially on Umaru, because it just gives him enough turns, and his actual animation is really quick. So it's not as slow as, having to select with Fire 3, or waiting for those animations to go through. So, a hasted character like that, and the great thing is that in that situation, they don't even get dispelled, because the ability is intrinsic with the equipment.
Yep. So he gets through phase 2, full team up this time, so he's in a much better shot. I think you should be able to handle this just fine with having his normal party ready.
I was going to say, we did just talk about how Calmness is now going to take down 2 players. Let's hope it's not this time.
Yeah. And he does, gets a nice 9,000 hit on there. And
did you see that Esper cast?
he does have Fenrir, okay, so that's actually going to be huge for him.
Yeah, he does not... Oh, and it was on Terra, which is why he didn't use it. That makes sense.
That makes a lot of sense. So now Terra does have Condemn on her, so he kind of is on a race for time, because he doesn't the worst thing that can happen is that it times up right before she drops. So it'll be
Right.
interesting if he holds off on doing it or how he times this out.
I'd imagine with that counter of, 15 seconds, because he has to get through sleep afterwards, I imagine he kills the girl, lets Terra die, and then brings her back up with Gogo. That
Yeah.
seems like that would be the play here. And
Yep, I would agree. That's probably
just let everyone else take care of the girl and try not to get sleep too low because you really don't want him throwing out those meteos while you're healing up.
Oh yeah, no, it's true. Like, we've all seen like the double meteo like round where you're just like, well, that stinks. Yep, and down goes Terra. He should be probably bringing her up right now.
Which does have the downside, though, of course, that she will not have Fenrir. But I think he'll be able to get through this, because even if he only loses, Terra, that's not actually as bad as losing all of them. Or that can be a Meteo that takes down Gogo.
Yeah, and unfortunately, then he's right back in the first spot.
Yeah,
He is not having good luck with this, and yeah, he doesn't have any more additional Phoenix Downs. I think he went into Kefka's Tower with a single Phoenix Down, which is not fun. I think he's using Magicite, I'm not sure, to try to bring up one of them. So the Stooges was at Fnatic Tower, and Riza Pass was at Bowser's Mansion. Fraggle.
and that
And there goes another
Seltzer.
Meteo.
that hurts. He could. I don't know if Sabin can survive a solo target Goner. But that's gonna
He
be a
might be able
close
to.
fight if he goes into it.
Yeah, I don't know either. He has been having some bad luck. There's the calmness, so yeah, he is going to go in with Sabin,
He will.
and I guess hoping.
He will have Celeste to throw potions. So if he can keep them up for the first Goner, maybe he can get through the second, or try to kill him before the second Goner happens. It's gonna have to be his strategy, because Celeste and Umaru are gonna go down after that first Goner.
Yeah, and then you also have to worry about Umaru triggering a counterattack too.
Right, which I think can that only happen after like 50% HP anyways, and then Goner is
I think
25%.
so. I believe so. It's been so long since I've actually gone and looked at the percentages. I really need to do that again.
Right, because that's definitely something I've learned with watching other racers, is that they have got all of those percents down, and I've seen people they'll count down that HP and they'll trigger, and it's like 10k, 12k, 14k. Now we're hitting this phase, and I'm like, I'm going in blind compared to them. I feel like I really need to not anymore. It's gonna be interesting to see what they go for. Sabin is the one that is throwing the Mega Elixir.
Yeah.
Celeste, I think, broke a rod over Kefka's head.
Cool, Rod.
Havoc Wing. Oh no. Oh man. I really hope he
it's
goes
like
back
first
in.
time. Yeah, he's just been having bad luck with getting like certain triggers at the worst times possible for him.
Absolutely, yeah. That phase 3, taking out his Terra followed by that Gogo, like that was just terrible.
Yeah, Terra unfortunately has been getting it every single time. It seems like it's just a bad spot. Meanwhile, Solaris is on to the Ultros fight. So I think that was the last of the statues, if I believe correct. So he should be finishing up pretty soon.
I think no, it's Tritok and Dullahan. That was the first statue he just did.
Oh, okay.
So Vamp should still be able to get, as far as the restream goes, should be able to get second of them. Solaris to have to get a pretty quick Kefka's Tower to pass him, but to be honest, he does have a lot of levels with the number of checks he's done. 44 I saw as his characters. Oh no, that was his last. He did the middle statue last. He is
Interesting.
ready to go. He's gonna
Yeah,
have
and I think Vampstar is actually doing some just
quick grinding, yeah.
random grinding. Yeah.
Which, I mean, Terra and Gogo are the ones who need the levels, so that's understandable.
Probably has some 10s left over that he can just use.
Yeah, quad 9s on those fixed dice. Gotta love it.
That's what he needs more often.
Because it really is one of those things where it's like fixed dice can be terrible, but you don't have to worry about any other like scaling, defense, anything like that. Fixed dice will cut through. So
Yep.
It's not the most reliable. It's not a Valiant knife. But when you can be, level 5 and still theoretically roll out quad 9s, it's always going to have a special place in my heart.
Yeah. And it looks like Solaris is about to go into his fight, so is it going to be a race between Vampstar and between Solaris?
Absolutely, and the question is, how much grinding does Vamp do before he tries to go back in? Because it looks
and
like
he's
he
got to
gets
know.
some experience, but...
Yeah, and he's got to know that Solaris, he can see the card. He's got to know that Solaris has got to be right behind him.
Absolutely, and especially in this case, because he knows that Solaris has done Kefka's Tower, because he knows that's where that bingo's at.
Yep, looks like he's going to try to do possibly one more fight. I did see he was getting quite a good bit of experience off of these tumbleweeds, and thankfully they do die pretty quick. So yeah, I wouldn't be mad surprised if he does like maybe 1 or 2 more fights, tense up, and then goes back in again with the just maybe 1 to 2 extra levels that he's gotten from this.
Yeah, and one thing I will say, I think he's going to have the advantage. He does know the fight a little bit better. Solaris, I think, is actually not taking out the head yet. He's only got the head and the arm left. If that head goes down last, Quake is not going to be a nice call.
Nope. There's definitely a certain order you want to take each one of these down. You want to take down that head first, and then the outside arm, and then the inner arm. Just like there's a certain order you really want to take down phase 2 in.
Right, and I will say that in that case, you can take down the arms either way. Shockwave is not as bad, but you really don't want to risk losing a character right at the end there, for sure.
Yeah. Yeah, no, you don't want Quake. Quake is not good for anybody.
Right, and as long as that head's alive also, I think the head is what costs Cascades. So that is an issue.
Now this fight should get quite a bit of experience for Vampstar. A lethal weapon in there should be pretty good. So hopefully that will be his last fight and he'll get back in there.
And he did take the head last. And Sabin is stone, so he's not coming with, but Terra survived. So he only lost 1 character there compared to what he could have been easily a 2 or 3.
Yeah, and that Quake, thankfully, like we've been saying earlier, with all the magic, force armor and everything, it didn't look like it hit him too hard.
No, he really did just benefit from that quite a lot. Setzer, it looks like... Oh, right, because he had Setzer early on and switched out, so Setzer at least has a few levels.
Yep.
Even if that very early immediate imp is not going to be super kind to him.
And here's where you're just like, you're really hoping, it's like, do I have any green cherries? Oh, I don't have any green cherries. Awesome.
He does have remedies, and while it's not the most, he does have a few. Looks like...
remedies, more and more of those items I grab every single time I see them. It's like, grab a stack, grab 10.
And they're super cheap, yeah.
Yep.
Looks like Vamp is actually going to level up a couple of his characters, not just the Go-Go and Terra. So this is really a situation where this might be enough to rush through, but it might be enough to let Solaris get the tower first.
Yeah. I think this just came, unfortunately, at a bad time for Vamp to have him to have Solaris that close right behind him.
Right. That is a Setzer going to sleep. Southern Cross is one of those spells that I really dislike because your character's alive and frozen in so many situations, and it's like, okay, well, I have nothing I can do here unless I want to fire my own team.
At first I thought Edgar was dead, and I was like, where is Edgar for Solaris? And I was like, oh, that's right, he's probably jumping up in the air somewhere.
That is true. He has not taken off those Dragoon boots this entire time.
Yeah. No, he is Kane himself now.
Doing work, I'm gonna say. It does have the problem that you can't cure Edgar, but theoretically he avoids most hits.
Yeah.
Fraggle,
he's doing 6,000.
Fraggle, I will say, I don't know where Fenrir was, but I think Vamp is the only person we've seen actually have it. Solaris might have it. He did do quite a lot of the other checks. But Vamp had it. I know that Jack did not have any of those either. So. Oh, pipsqueaks aren't good experience.
Yeah, that's not what you want to see. You want to see tumbleweeds. You want to see that lethal weapon. Yeah, I'm really surprised Vampstar's still grinding. I'm surprised he just didn't take his few extra levels on Go-Go and Celeste and just go in.
Right, I can imagine that he's probably really frustrated because that was 2 attempts that he went through. Lost a lot of time on it. He probably just wants to make sure this run goes through.
Yeah, I've been there before. You're just like, no, we are gonna grind now to the point where it's not even. It's pretty trivial.
Right, and probably was hoping to see those same lethal weapon and such fights on the other side. Seeing Pipsqueaks though is not going to be as helpful or conducive to him grinding out.
But definitely not.
Which it looks like he is just going to take that level on Setzer and go. So he is going to join the tower. We do have a sleeping Edgar, so he is no longer in the sky. He is taking a nap for all of his jumps.
Yeah, I'm really hoping either Terra or Celes has, if he's even going to try to life through it. I mean, I think he kind of has to.
Does have the Phoenix Downs, but did not look to have life or Cure 3, at least on Celeste. So that is not great to see. This has not been a great recovery seed, though. I will say that. You get all the characters, but we didn't see life 2. We didn't see life 3. Cure 3 even seemed rare enough. So getting through these seeds with, theoretically lower level characters, pretty good defenses.
Mm-hmm.
It's
now, thankfully, with all the force armor though, too, you can dodge a lot of the magic stuff that's been hitting people too. So it looks like he's got Edgar up and jumping away again.
Of course.
Wherever he heals for.
Ultima and Ragnarok, which is what Terra has, is going to do more than that Pearl Lance, but it's still not going to be pretty to see.
Yeah, no, it's going to be one of those things, and hopefully he catches. And then even then, it's like, okay, well, what do you switch out with?
Oh, looks like he killed the girl, though. So,
okay, but then
Ultima took that down.
And the Pearl Lance triggered. I didn't know jump could trigger the hit effects of weapons. That's good to know.
You get the same multiplier, so he gets it to ×2 on the Pearl Lance trigger. So it's not just the straight trigger that you get from a normal attack. So it does have a lot of benefits.
Down goes Terra, so hopefully he can get her up pretty quick.
And double calmness.
Oh no.
With Celeste holding out. Ooh. So he only has 2 characters, but man, is that Celeste refusing to die.
Yeah, this is an interesting one. It's like, okay, does he have enough damage to get through this? It's gonna be tough.
I think it's any more of a question of how he takes this damage, because he's not gonna have any other high-level characters. If Edgar's in the air and Cyan and Umaru, which is the other 2 that are left, are dead, then Celeste is going to take a Goner to the face without split damage, and I doubt she survives that.
Yeah.
So having him in the air can be bad, but also protects Edgar from counterattacks. So it's a good question of what's going to happen here.
Yeah. No, this is quite interesting. Meanwhile, Vampstar is up on phase 2. Looks like he's holding out pretty well, healing everybody up. Looks like he's having a better time this time around. Those extra levels definitely helping him out. There's the fallen one for Solaris. Let's see if he has a Mega Elixir, which he does. There it is.
Yeah, looks
which
like
is good to see.
Everyone found one. Everyone gets
Yep.
1 Mega Elixir this time.
It was in the Magitech factory, like one of those chests that's like right along the route. So
That
I think
makes
everybody
sense.
found it
Yeah.
for that reason.
But yeah, so he's kind of in a situation where he wants to keep.
Yeah.
Oh,
Do you use Cyan to keep Umaro up so then you have 3 people who can help split the damage for Celeste?
well, you only need 1 extra person because it's split damage
Okay.
as long as 2 people are alive. So as long as he can keep Cyan or Umaro alive,
Yeah.
then he does have a way of stopping the split damage. If he... It's going to be a question, though, to see where this goes. He's got a lot of damage between the jump, possibly throwing out, 10k plus. Ultima... Train is actually one of the better things he can be countered with, because, he just throws the remedy out and then casts another Ultima, so that's not a problem.
I think she's out of magic though.
I think he already used an
oh, that's
elixir
right,
because
that's
he was
right.
out a second ago. And that is a
And,
sleeping
here he needs
Cyan.
Yeah, he needs to bring up Cyan or Umaro really quick, or not have Edgar jump.
Or he could try to power through this Goner. He can get one more Goner or one more Ultima off, which is 9,000. If he gets that trigger off, that might be enough.
Oh, but he's gonna heal instead.
Oh, I don't know if 3k is going to be enough to get through that Goner, though. We're going to see. Oh, no, Edgar's down. Just in time.
Perfect time for him to land.
Just in time to save him from the split damage. I'm very confused and concerned about this Kefka fight. We have a frozen Go-Go in the top right.
Yeah, this
have-
is a wild.
We have a jumping Edgar saving Celeste from Goner. I'm not even sure what's going on anymore.
Rain is good to see. He needs to watch out for the Havoc Wing though.
The Havoc Wing will still take him down, which is why I'm really glad to see the train counters more than anything else. Fraggle, Goner did like 500 damage, which is probably he survived that hyperdrive. Which is
That's surprising.
right, which is definitely a part of some of their defenses. But,
And he has some elixirs in there too. I would use an elixir really quick on that.
But the only problem is that if you only have 1 character alive, it's no longer split damage. And I don't know what the difference specifically is in damage between the split or the double, but I know it's not pretty.
Yeah, I think he is racing basically now to get him done in the shaking phase before the next Goner comes through.
Which
And
he
he's doing some really good damage.
just got it.
There it
He's
is.
Got it, yep. And Edgar's
GG.
nowhere to be seen. Edgar is gone.
Edgar's out. Yeah, he's out. He doesn't want to deal with this anymore.
Definitely a GG for Solaris pulling that through. That was a heck of a fight.
Yep, and that's where we saw where Solaris had done a few extra boss battles on his hunt for some other stuff that he's actually gained enough experience that he didn't have to do any extra grinding, so it kind of worked out for him in the end.
Absolutely. Should we see if we can get him in for...
Yeah, let's see if he's available.
But yeah,
Meanwhile, while we look on doing that,
having those
Vamps are still going.
extra levels though, even with the characters going down, Celeste blocking double calmness is huge on that. But I want to see Vamp pull through on this for sure.
I do too. Yeah, he's been powering through like a champ. He's not giving up.
And he's got the extra levels. Everyone has more HP. They're surviving the hits. Looks like he's going into phase 3 with everyone. So we should be in a pretty good spot to see this.
It does look like we're going to try to get Solaris in here for a quick interview as well.
Absolutely. I really want to see what he thought of this with the bingo, because he definitely found a couple bosses that no one else in our restream found.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, he found the Stooges and a couple of the others once.
You have that
Yep.
third phase coming along, so we're going to see how that goes.
That's
And
good.
we should have Solaris joining us now.
Hello.
Hey, GG on the run.
Thank you.
So, how did you feel about the boss bingo? It was kind of I know you were one of the other people who had kind of early tested this with us. What were your thoughts on the race on this kind of format?
I really enjoyed it. It was really fun. I just have to remember to mark down all my stuff, or I could have been done a little earlier. Totally forgot I had Celis and didn't do any of the checks because I didn't have it marked down.
We're talking about some things that we were talking about, possibly like adding some other like just non-boss objectives to it. Like some of the ideas that we had kind of spitballed back and forth were like one where like Gao has to learn an additional rage other than what he starts with, or Strago has to learn an additional lore other than what he starts with. So some other fun ones like that. Is that something you'd like to see, or do you kind of like it more just purely just the boss bingo?
Oh, no, I'd like to see boss and other stuff mixed in. It'd be great to see you have to use this character for the whole thing, kind of square.
Right, that's one of the things that sometimes it's like, you can do checks to get Gao, and then no matter where, you can find that check. But on that same time, with this seed, even though we had, 10, 12 characters, I don't think we found Gao, so possibly having
we never found Gao at all, yeah.
Having some of those checks be, teach him a rage. If you never find Gao, you can't teach him a rage.
Yeah, true.
Oh, Gao was apparently the Opera House, so people off-stream did find it. But no one on-stream did it. And
that was the next place I was going, was Opera House, if Magitech Factory didn't pan out.
Right, just to bring us back real quick, did just have Vamp go through phase...
to see that.
I was surprised when I got an Esper and it had Ultima delivered on it. I'm like, hey, this is new.
Yeah, who had that? Because we thought that was from the Curse Shield.
No, I don't remember what Esper it was. But I had the Curse Shield on one guy and the Esper on the other guy.
On another note, we did just get the flash from Vamp, so that is a GG. He did make it. We have everyone through that tower.
It's always good to see that no one forfeits out that's on stream, so I'm glad that Vamp stuck through it, showed the perseverance to make sure it got done. Because that could be disheartening. Like, after you wipe the second time, you kind of get that gut feeling where you're just like, I don't even want to know if I want to try again.
Yep.
Absolutely.
I've had that a few times.
I'm going to see if we can also get Vamp in here for a quick chat, just to get last notes before we head off. I know we've got a couple minutes before our time slot's over.
Yep. But yeah, I mean, even with this, we still got everybody done pretty much within the 3 hours, so I'm glad to see that just one run through like this didn't kind of go a lot longer, and welcome to the chat, Vamp. GG's.
GG's.
GG, Vamp.
And we're glad to see you stuck through it, man. You were just getting some bad luck off of Kefka like on that phase 3. Longer, and welcome to the chat.
I was. I went in there pretty low though, so I mean that's kind of expected.
Yeah, so we've kind of been asking everybody this question that's joined us. So comparing to like a normal gated seed where it's just get the 710, go to Kefka, how are your I guess what are your thoughts on kind of this boss bingo style, and possibly in the future adding some objectives like Gao has to learn an additional rage or Strago has to learn an additional lore as like additional bonus spots we can get?
I do like the boss bingos. I really do like the bingo games. If you add too many objectives, maybe they can get a little crazy. But if every person agrees to it when they start in, it's gonna be a good time.
Yeah, we were thinking of a few, possibly like either Gao or Strago have to learn a new lore or rage. So it's not, not anything crazy like trying to get a certain Esper or trying to break a certain rod, but just something that like as a general objective the character can do.
Yeah, and there's a few items you can actually put on the bingo board too, like offering, looking for that katana soul in the game.
Right, because I guess that's always one of the monster in a boxes, worst case.
Right.
Yeah. So, and then we were also talking that this seed, unlike kind of some of the other like test seeds that we've done, where this one kind of came down to basically almost everybody got one of the two bingos, where either you went early Kefka's Tower or went Kefka's Tower and got that right side, or you went Magitech Factory and then you got that left side. And it just so happened that there wasn't too much in the middle except for some early checks.
Right. Was I the only one who ended up with two bingos?
No, Jacquemus had it, and I believe Solaris also had two bingos as well.
I don't think Jacquemus finished it, or finished both, did he? I thought he only had one. He was like one off from the second one.
He didn't have Data Luma.
Yeah.
That's right.
It was
okay, but yeah.
The only one that, at least the ones that I saw, that had two bingos from it, because it was either you went in Magitech or you went for that early KT. You just happened to do both.
Yeah.
And like we've been saying, like these kind of checks, like you definitely now, I think people after seeing this are probably going to start prioritizing like your Magitech factories as soon as you get Celeste or some of those other double checks, like we've said throughout this stream.
Science Dream or
Yeah.
Science Dream, Magitech Factory, all those where you get a lot of boss checks done at one time. Just because that's what you're looking for in this case. You don't care that you only get one thing at the end of Magitech Factory. It's I got 5 checks out of it.
and that's what actually kind of ruined me too, because I was going for like boss checks in the beginning, and I was like, and I kept on seeing Jack color the squares, one square after another. I was like,
I
okay,
know,
he's
that
at
was-
double my squares.
Hmm.
There was some item he found or something, and then I go back to the collapsing building, and yeah, there's a fixed ice.
Yep. Yeah. There was one of the few times where Jack, who we notoriously said doesn't like using fixed dice. Even he had to use it. He was just like it was just because of how the seed lined out. You kind of had to use that fixed dice to really get through a lot of it, because there wasn't a lot of magic heavy in this one. It was you were a full physical team just about.
Right, and a lot of the stuff you saw him mark off, and the reason why he was doing them so quickly was because it was Kefka's Tower, which is super quick to go from boss to boss if you can take them all down. And with the second fixed dice, which he actually only used one of them, but with the other fixed dice sitting in the Kefka's Tower, along with those, 8 boss checks you can get to pretty quick. It was definitely interesting kind of seeing that, because you also saw that he went through Kefka's Tower, found those bosses, had to leave, go do other bosses until he found it. And he got lucky that he immediately went and found Goddess, and then had to run right back through Kefka's Tower, run through the whole thing again. He had one boss left that he just plowed through, and then went to Kefka himself.
Oh,
Yes.
nice.
Yeah, it was kind of funny that Funbaba was kind of the last check that a lot of people had to do to get the Goddess statue. I was waiting for Goddess statue or like cranes to be deep somewhere, and they're like, "Oh, you had to go to Gauss check," and that led you to Shadow, and then finally you found one of the two. Because you can definitely in a bingo set like this get very down the rabbit hole too.
Yeah.
Right, and when you get that situation, at least you'll be very high level. So if you get through a bunch of these checks, you'll be high level when you go into Kefka's Tower. Whereas if you find it early, you then have to go grind, and the question is, how long do you grind?
I probably should have stopped and killed those 2 dragons in Kefka's Tower. That would have really helped me out.
Hey, but you were the tumbleweeds were some pretty good experience for Celeste and I think it was Strago. So we noticed that definitely probably helped out a little bit too for your third attempt.
And if you had made it, because it was some really bad luck with those not having enough Phoenix Downs and them taking down Gogo and Terra right at the same time. If you had gotten through the first time, you would have had a really good time, all things considered.
Oh yeah. Even the second fight, like I knew I was so close with just soloing him, soloing the last phase with Sabin.
Right, yeah, that was really close for that. I do want to say though, we're about the time for our time slot. Thank you guys for coming in and chatting with us. Thank you for everyone watching. I did just link the Discord if anyone is interested in learning more. Stopping in, we are always glad to chat about it.
Yeah, come join us. It was great commentating with you, Raph.
Yeah, thank you for making my first time commentating. A lot of fun to talk about fixed dice the whole time and Umaru. It's always my favorite topics.
Yep. Well, everybody have a great night.
GG's. This was fun.
We'll see you around.